Alright, I am here, chat. So sorry for the delay. Left it is next to lateness. Gonna be getting right to it. I had a lot of stuff that that's been happening, and I was trying to go live, and for multiple reasons I have been unable to do so. But here I am. Let's do it.
I don't want reality.
Well, looks like there's a lot to cover here today. I've got a long list here, folks, but I think we can get through it together. Might need you. Might need you for this one. We'll see. It's good to see all of you here right now. Raptors, hearts, and maybe a little doom. Let's get to it, huh, folks? Okay. Well, might be a little bit scattered the way that I have this all set up right now. I've tried to keep it so that it makes sense in my brain. Hopefully it will make sense once it all starts happening here. We're going to start off with this video from a day ago of Vice President Kamala Harris talking on this situation. Wait a second. Yeah. Why is this on the wrong video over here? Hold on. You know what? It's fine. We'll do it this way. We'll do it this way. Forget it. I don't know why this is out of order from one list to the other list, but this is in fact a different video, and I guess we'll just start with this one since my computer is being an idiot. This is a video of a shooting that just happened in Six Flags in Georgia about 2 days ago now, and this is just us keeping track of the fact that you know, every single day there seems to be another shooting somewhere in public, and it is an absolute epidemic.
We start with breaking news tonight. Just into our newsroom, the GBI is investigating a shooting involving an officer just outside of Six Flags Over Georgia near South Service Road. We know this happened around 6 o'clock tonight. Cobb police tell us one person has been taken to the hospital. Right now, we have a crew on the way to the scene, so make sure you stay with us on 11 Alive News, on air and online, as we gather more details.
So before I begin,
So yeah, that was real quick.
today,
But if you heard, there was an officer involved shooting with a 15-year-old, and there may be more developments, but I didn't find anything as of this moment. There might be more stuff for sure, but so far that's all we have, and it's just another example of gun violence. One every single day, one mass shooting every single day since the beginning of 2024. That is the State of the Union, folks. Yeah. Streamlord, you need to lay off the cools. Very funny. Jules T, good to see you. I think this is the first time I've seen Jules T in chat. Good to see everybody. FG, BCAT, Moanoa, AC, Looney Tunes, all of you folks. Good for Gabby. I think I hit up at Bad Lefty. Everybody here already. Wow. It's only been 10 minutes. Okay. Alright. This is... You may have already seen this, you may not. But this was Kamala Harris talking about the need for a ceasefire in Gaza. Let's listen to how she wants to frame this.
I must address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. What we are seeing every day in Gaza is devastating. We have seen reports of families eating leaves or animal feed, women giving birth to malnourished babies with little or no medical care, and children dying from malnutrition and dehydration. As I have said many times, too many innocent Palestinians have been killed.
Many times.
And just a few days ago, we saw...
Am I
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Am I taking crazy pills, chat? Because it feels like I haven't heard her say that many times, and this is like maybe the second time I've heard her talk about it at all. Maybe the media is just not covering it, but I'm just floored by that sentence.
approach aid trucks, simply trying to secure food for their families after weeks of nearly no aid reaching northern Gaza.
Weeks? It's been longer than that, for sure. Unless you're counting, like, more than 4 weeks at a time. But yeah, okay. Phrasing it really weird. Gotta be honest. It's not a good start.
And they were met with gunfire and chaos. Our hearts break for the victims of that horrific tragedy, and for all the innocent people in Gaza who are suffering from what is clearly a humanitarian catastrophe. People in Gaza are starving.
No kidding.
The conditions are inhumane. And our common humanity compels us to act. As President Joe Biden said on Friday, the United States is committed to urgently get more life-saving assistance to innocent Palestinians in need. Yesterday, the Department of Defense carried out its first airdrop of humanitarian assistance, and the United States will continue these airdrops. And we will work on a new route by sea to deliver aid. And the
What? In this whole and I don't know if she said the thing that she said that I heard her say previously already. Did anybody hear her say it? She wants a ceasefire for 6 weeks yet? Because that's the thing that I'm most upset about that I heard recently. But, I mean, why is she talking about aid by sea right now? There were, I don't know if there still are, but what I understood was that there was literally hundreds of trucks waiting to get in. Literally hundreds of trucks full of aid that are getting held up by either Egypt and or Israel combined. But sorry, I haven't gotten my full focus yet. I'm still jamming an energy drink into my face and responding to Discord stuff. But yeah. I'm gonna listen to a little bit more of this, but honestly, fact is this message is way too late and not enough.
The Israeli government must do more to significantly increase the flow of aid. No excuses. They must open new border crossings. They must not impose any unnecessary restrictions on the delivery of aid. They must ensure humanitarian personnel, sites, and convoys are not targeted. And they must work to restore basic services and...
Fact is, I can't deny this at all. But the other fact is that Palestinians are now literally dying from starvation. I saw a video that I'm not even going to show on this stream because it is so painful to watch that I am not going to subject you all to it. But the fact is that they are literally starving. They're literally starving. And this should have been top of the list of priorities to make this sort of speech before the election actually started getting underway here. And it just seems like too little, too late, coming from this administration in particular.
Remote order in Gaza.
She's not big on charisma. Where is the humanity? Yeah, chat kind of gets it.
So more food, water, and fuel can reach those...
Whoa, what just happened?
As I have said repeatedly since October 7, Israel has a right to defend itself. And President Joe Biden and I are unwavering in our commitment to Israel's security. Hamas cannot control Gaza. And the threat Hamas...
Some good old, what's it called? Administration planting. That's not the right phrase for it. I know there's a different phrase for this. But yeah, I mean, America's always trying to insert its own sort of leadership into countries, and that's the sort of talk that I expect from centrist Democrats.
Poses to the people of Israel must be eliminated. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization that has vowed to repeat October 7th again and again until Israel is annihilated. Hamas has shown no regard for innocent life, including for the people.
Regime change, that's the word. Sorry, I just really, that was so satisfying to remember that.
People of Gaza who have suffered under its rule for almost 2 decades. And Hamas still holds dozens of hostages for nearly 150 days now. Innocent men and women, including American citizens, who were brutally taken from their homes and from a concert.
And here, 2 points I just want to make. One, I'm not saying that Hamas should be in control of Gaza. I hope everybody understands that one. Number one, because they have some real problems themselves. But the point is that it's this sort of two sides of the mouth talking coming from the administration saying, oh, we need to protect Israel and Israel's right to basically just genocide people, but we also need to allow aid to those people getting genocided because just, we can't have people starving to death, but bombs, fine. And then it's also this whole situation with the fucking American hostages, which there's been almost zero talk about in the media, which you would think would be like the only thing the media would be able to talk about, right? There are American hostages in Gaza right now, and America's supplying the bombs that are being dropped on top of their heads. And you'd think literally nobody would be able to talk about anything else, like especially with the way that the media works, right? But no. That's not been the main focus. It's been Hamas is terrible. Can't allow Hamas to be in power, and blah blah blah. And Israel is doing everything they can to protect civilians while they massacre civilians in front of our eyes. Yep.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Oh, God.
The threat of Hamas poses to the people of Israel must be eliminated. And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire.
First six weeks. Yep, okay. Oh my God. Gross. Yeah, literally, it is this sort of two sides of the mouth talking at all times from her. And it's gross. And if anybody thinks that she's going to replace Biden when he dies, oh boy, and think that somehow she's going to be better, oh, wake up. She is not better. Bad lefty. Anyone else get pangs of guilt as they eat food in the middle of the night knowing brothers and sisters in Gaza are wasting away? Yeah, I have pangs of guilt when I walk around the space station not getting bombed, and not eating or drinking. I don't have to be doing anything special whatsoever, and I feel guilt because I'm not under siege. Okay, all right. I'm done with that video. That was enough. 6 weeks. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, Kamala. Kamala? Kamala. I think it's Kamala. It's Kamala. I don't know why I'm always forgetting how, but it's because everybody says her name differently, and so I always forget what the right way to say it is. Is it my fault, chat? Is it my fault? Feeling guilt because we have the the mental headspace to feel guilt. Wow. That's multiple layers deep on the guilt. This video's from a day ago. Less than a day ago. This is just a quick video from NBC Bay Area regarding the U.S. Senate race in California.
All right, it is the final push to get people to the polls.
No,
California.
Why are you like this? Okay. Take two. Wow. Looney, I feel like that's more of an 8-ball question and not a Nightbot question, but hey, if it's that important, to you. But where is it? Why did I have to move these around? Oh, there we go. Alright, this is a video from less than a day ago on the U.S. Senate race in California.
All right, it is the final push to get people to the polls. California primary now just 2 days away. The race for who will become the state's next U.S. Senator is drawing a lot of attention. Two candidates were stumping in San Francisco this weekend. NBC Bay Area's Alyssa Gord caught up with them and potential voters.
Ahead of California's primary election, candidates for U.S. Senate are trying to make an impact here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And it seems that top of everyone's mind is the fact that voter turnout has been so low. Many of the voters we spoke with in San Francisco admit they haven't cast their ballots yet. In fact, when it comes to the race for U.S. Senate, many said,
I'm kind of undecided right now.
On Sunday, people packed into Manny's in the city to hear from Southern California Congresswoman Katie Porter.
I want to listen to her. I mean, she's been doing a great job, but so has some of the other Democratic candidates too. So it's tough to make a decision.
Porter told the crowd she expects this to be a very close race.
As a professor, I've seen a lot of procrastination in my life, including procrastinators who got A+. So I think young people are going to turn the ballots in, but I think we're going to see a kind of a different election in the days following the election day.
The latest Berkeley IGS poll shows Republican and former baseball star Steve Garvey polling at 27%. Congressman Adam Schiff slightly behind at 25%, Porter at 19%, and Congresswoman...
That graph is bad. This infographic is not good. And I know that I think I've heard some people saying things about Katie Porter, but I don't know what the objection to Katie is lately. I mean, from what I understand, most of her policy has been pretty progressive, but I don't. If anybody wants to tell me, I would love to hear it. But I mean, Adam Schiff is about as establishment politician as you can get, and then Steve fucking Garvey is a Republican, so I don't think I have to even say any more than that. So him winning the race right now is not a good look. And I think a lot of people are disenfranchised right now by the fact that our government continues to fund a genocide and not seem to listen to people protesting and things like that. And I think some of that's going to contribute to this. I can't say for sure, but it's not good. It's not good. And while it's not, presidential rates, Senate races are important too. So are House races, and so are local elections. They dictate more than we think.
Barbara Lee with 8%.
In a sane world, Barbara Lee would be a mile ahead. Well, we don't live in a sane world.
Garvey's campaign did not respond to our request for comment. Lee's team told us she was campaigning in Southern California this weekend, sharing this video with us.
Counting on you all here in San Diego County.
Meanwhile, in San Francisco,
please welcome
Ugh.
the Senator-to-be, not once, but twice, from California.
Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi
in the Ice
introduced
Age,
shifts
how much
surrounded by
taxes
other
did people
top state
pay?
and local Democrats.
But we feel good about where things are. I think Californians want someone who can lead in these big fights, can protect our democracy, can fight for an economy that works for people.
While candidates are hoping voters cast their ballots, young voters say they're hoping for a candidate that will make them excited to go to the polls.
I want to see a vision for what...
How are young voters supposed to get excited when they're giving people like Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and then look at the presidential election? It's ridiculous. I mean, they don't have, they don't have the energy and the charisma, and it's ridiculous. They don't have the messages either. They're so establishment at this point. They have nothing to say that interests anybody with a brain. Anyway, just wanted to touch on things that are currently happening in American politics as we go along here. This next video, Staying in America, it's actually going to be a series of videos. We're probably not going to watch all of like all of them. It's not even that much footage, but it's I just wanted to catch all the angles of this situation, as hopefully we'll all be able to enjoy this. This is well, I don't know about enjoy. It's a little bit. It's people were injured, so don't enjoy that part of it. But this is these are some videos of a Tesla exploding on a highway.
News from Griffith Park: a Tesla plunged off an.
Don't you do that? This is Tesla, which apparently caught fire on a highway in California. So they say. What are they saying? I don't know what they're saying. Oh boy, Looney Tunes has drop kicked Nancy directly out of the airlock. Hold your breath, Nancy.
Overpass then caught fire. Happened about 11 o'clock last night on the Riverside Drive overpass right there at the 134. The Tesla slammed through a metal barrier, then went off the side of the overpass. The car hit the center divider of the freeway below and then caught fire. 2 men in their 60s got out of the vehicle. They suffered serious injuries. They were taken to the hospital. The extent of those injuries as of right now, though, unknown. It's also unknown why the crash happened.
Car drove off a freeway overpass in Griffith Park and burst into flames.
KCAL News reporter Lucelia Caballero is live along the 134 where the lanes are now back open. Lucelia.
Yeah, that's right. What was left of the car and all of the debris has since been cleared, so traffic is moving pretty quickly here. However, even just a half an
I was watching one video of it. It looked like it was taking them forever to put this fire out. Like, literally forever. Because it's just a big battery, right? Just a giant lithium-ion battery filled with leather.
Men in their 60s were able to get themselves out. They were eventually taken to the hospital. It's unclear what led up to the crash. And, of course, they sustained serious injuries. As we come back out here live, you can see some of the debris still scattered on this sidewalk and on the road.
Anyway, I think that's about all we need to see. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate people were injured, but yeah, these some of these some of these fires are pretty serious from electric cars. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be using technology. I'm just pointing it out. I don't even know why I'm pointing it out right now, honestly. It's just, I think it's just to point it in Elon Musk's face. That's what it is. Maybe it's bad. That's in bad taste. All right, on to more serious things. Oh, this was fucked up. This came out like 5 hours ago. This is a video from Philadelphia where a Philadelphia official and her husband were arrested on the side of the road. This video is just kind of disturbing, so prepare yourselves. That's the wrong video. Don't do this to me. There we go.
This viral video circulating on social media Saturday shows a portion of a traffic stop along the Vine Street Expressway.
That's my husband! That's my husband, please!
It's unclear what happened before the start of the video. In it, you see a Pennsylvania State Police trooper standing over and shouting at a man on the ground. The interaction is being recorded by his wife, who just so happens to be a Philadelphia city official.
I work for the mayor! I work for the mayor!
In a statement on social media Saturday afternoon, Mayor Sherrill...
It's just gross. It's super gross. And he punches this guy while he's on the ground. You can see it in the video. It's raining. He appears to be in, like, pajamas, and it makes no sense why he has him on the ground. Unfortunately, there's no more... what's it called? Like, unfortunately, there's not more footage of this incident, but from what I saw, it looked messed up. And actually, maybe there's a little bit more, because I think he, like, tackles this poor woman. Yeah. Oh, here. Okay, hold on. All right, we're going to keep watching this. Go, Web, go.
Parker wrote, Selena Morrison, the city's executive director of the Office of LGBT Affairs, was in the vehicle that was stopped. A video circulating on social media that depicts a portion of the incident is very concerning to me, and I will have no further comment until the investigation has been completed. At one point in the video, the trooper is seen walking towards the woman recording before lunging towards her, knocking the phone on the ground. The interaction continues out of view. Several seconds later.
Why has he got to tackle that woman? She was just standing there exercising her right to to record that incident, and apparently his ego couldn't handle it and decided to tackle her. So that shit is fucked. And I just felt like we needed to watch that. That's about it from this, I believe. It's just more comment from the police who are trying to act like it was justified, and I don't even feel like listening to it. My mind didn't look justified whatsoever. Okay, this next video, still in America. This is regarding a poll. Actually, I think it might be multiple polls on U.S. adults' doubt of both Biden and Trump's mental capabilities. This just came out like earlier today, I think.
U.S. adults have concerns about President Joe Biden's age. That's according to a new poll by the Associated Press, Nork Center for Public Affairs Research. What it found regarding the 81-year-old Biden is that 6 in 10 say they don't have a lot of confidence about his mental capability. That's important because in January of 2022, only half said they had those concerns. So we've seen an increase in the past 2 years. Most importantly, we've seen that increase after the
It's an increase of 20% since he didn't do the math for us.
release of a special counsel's report.
Yeah, he should get charged. Yeah, I think Bad Leffy is talking about that officer. He should absolutely be charged. What the fuck was that? Come on. It's certainly unlawful, and more police officers need to face actual punishment for behaving illegally, criminally. Just because they have connections and the police union and some of these other sorts of things working in their favor all the time, they get away scot-free almost every time.
Saying that there were memory issues for President Biden. 6 in 10 also say they have concerns about President Trump's.
So those are our choices, people. Two different individuals with 40% of people thinking that they might be intelligent enough to make it from the bed to the kitchen. It's just crazy. These are our choices. How is this democracy again?
Mental capabilities. So what we're seeing is a 2024 election in which two older candidates could be going up against each other, and voters are worried about their age because these candidates are going to have to deal with global conflicts, domestic emergencies, and a dysfunctional...
The dementiarchy? Haven't heard that term before. That is a new one. Okay. This is a mild... I've tried to interject a couple of mildly positive things throughout this night as we go along, and this is now leaving America, going to France, which has become the first country to enshrine abortion rights in its constitution. About time. This came out just a few hours ago. Oh, good to see you, Bella Lugrisi. Oh, I gotta read. Oh, you tricked me. You tricked me. Why you gotta trick me like this? Alright, this is in Versailles. Lawmakers overwhelmingly approved the bill to enshrine abortion rights in France's constitution.
Pour l'adoption,
For
780.
the adoption, 780. Against it, 72. This makes France the only country to explicitly guarantee a woman's right to voluntarily terminate a pregnancy. there were jubilant scenes of celebration all over France.
It's historical. We are all, as you see, very happy. And for us, it's a fundamental right, and it has to be in the Constitution because you can always change the law. And we have seen it with the United States, but also in other European countries. So yes, it's a step forward, huge one.
Je pense que c'est vraiment émouvant de voir qu'une liberté qui nous est si fondamentale est enfin inscrite dans la Constitution et qu'on se sent reconnu et davantage protégé aussi grâce à ça.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, chat. I was just listening and I wasn't translating. They were speaking in French. This has happened multiple times. When I start listening to something in French, I start thinking, oh, everybody knows what she's saying. Okay, that's my bad. That's my bad. I'm gonna read for you because I'm gonna do my job. Oh, good to see you. What you can do. Vive la France. Vive.
It's historical. We are all, as you see, very happy.
Whoops.
The law, and we have
back.
seen it with the United States. So yes, it's a step forward, huge one.
Je pense que c'est vraiment émouvant de voir qu'une liberté.
It is very moving to see such a fundamental liberty written into the Constitution, which will make us feel more recognized and protected. Also, it is a good signal that is sent to other countries, showing that we can always make progress in the right for which we've fought for decades. The measure was promised by President Emmanuel Macron following a rollback of abortion rights in court rulings of the United States. Abortion enjoys wide support in France across most of the political spectrum and has been illegal since 1975. Oh God. A recent poll showed support for abortion rights at more than 80% among the French. I shouldn't be slamming energy drinks this hard. That was a weird sound that just came out of my body. Okay. Alright, focused. Look, see? A slightly positive news story on Monday, Doomer News. Oh, bask in it, people. And on to Haiti, which is just declared a state of emergency after gangs freed 4,000 inmates from prisons.
We begin in Haiti. A 72-hour state of emergency has been declared in Port-au-Prince and surrounds after armed gangs.
Well done, France. Indeed. Agreed.
Carried out 2 serious jailbreaks. The BBC has been told the vast majority of inmates held the capital's main prison have escaped, some 4,000 men. Gangs who now control much of Port-au-Prince broke into the jail in the early hours of Sunday. At least 12 people have been killed in the unrest. This latest upsurge in violence began on Thursday when the country's Prime Minister Ariel Henry travelled to Nairobi to discuss sending a Kenyan-led multinational security force to Haiti. For more, I spoke to Harold Isaac, who's a freelance journalist who's in Port-au-Prince.
Now we have entered a state of emergency along with a curfew, and this is the answer of the government to the latest developments in the last few hours, where the security situation has seriously degraded here in the capital, Port-au-Prince.
Now, just for some context, you all may not be familiar with this, or you may be, but I think it's important to at least be aware of it while listening to all this. There's been a lot of problems in Haiti, and more problems. I mean, because there's been problems in Haiti ever since really the colonialists showed up in Haiti and started trying to run it, and then left it. And then different governments have tried to run it to different degrees of success. But who is it? What was his name? Jean Vel. Oh, I forget his name. Damn it. That's in bad taste. What's the heck is his name? Jovenel Moise was the former president of Haiti, but was assassinated 2 years ago. And many people postulated that assassination was led by U.S. Blackwater type groups. And so there's been a lot of criticism of the person who took power, Ariel Henry, who has been suggested by many different people that he was not only friends with the people who planned the assassination, but was actually instrumental in the orchestration of that assassination. So you got a guy in power right now who many believe to have been behind the killing of the former president. And so while I don't condone violence, I do understand why people might be upset in Haiti. if you had foreign governments coming in assassinating people, especially your president, and then installing straw man dictators, whatever you want to call that sort of thing, but like, you know, like putting in like a puppet into power, yeah, I think we'd all probably be like, that seems fucked.
Describe what it's like.
Well, for the most part, everybody here are expecting to have a disrupted week, as over 4,000 inmates have fled the two detention centers here in Port-au-Prince, and creating a real security crisis, aggravating what was already a challenging time to be in the city. So it's really a lot of questions with very little answers at this point.
Some inmates, we heard, chose not to leave the prisons. They actually felt safer to stay.
Well, safer, and also legal consideration, and also protecting their lives, because many of the high profiles, especially the Colombians or people that were involved in the assassination of the president, some of them decided to stay in order not to get killed in crossfires between the police and gangs, or to have their sentence aggravated as a result of fleeing the prison. So there are many implications for those who have actually fled.
Now, the Prime Minister is in Nairobi. His absence is partly what, you know, where those saw an opportunity to seize control. What's likely to happen next, and how soon will this multinational security aid come in?
This is unclear at this point. Nobody has the details, at least publicly, as to when to expect the troops. The Prime Minister himself should be on his way back as we speak, but nobody knows for sure where he is at this moment. And as such is the ad interim Prime Minister, Mr. Boisvert, who has taken
Now, I would also point this out, as it was just mentioned, Kenya being the leader of supposed like forces coming to Kenya to help reinstate order. I would point out Kenya is one of the key partners in sub-Saharan Africa that are allied with the EU. As the EU has a pretty bad track record in Africa, most nations aren't as willing as Kenya to get their hands dirty, and it would seem that they're offering a hand in this situation. And anyway, I'm just trying to provide context, not making any real judgments at this point, as this is still something of a burgeoning situation, if you will. This is just another video on the same situation,
Haiti
but from the AP.
is used to violence, with up to 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, controlled by gangs. But what happened at the weekend was a new descent into chaos, with up to 4,000 prisoners freed when gangs stormed the country's two largest prisons. Their goal? To topple the government of the country's Prime Minister, Ariel Henry. Now, one of the key players in this is a gang leader called Jimmy Charizier, also known as Barbecue. He had said previously that he was going to take hostage the country's police chief and other politicians. What's next for Haiti? Well, it's difficult to say in a country which has been in crisis for so long. Ariel Henry was in Kenya, finalising the sending of a multinational force to the country, which has been mired in Kenya's internal bureaucracy. US President Joe Biden has refused to commit troops, although he has sent logistics and money. And Henry has promised elections in mid-2025, but he's made this promise before, so it remains to be seen whether elections will go ahead, and if they do, what impact they will have.
part of the problem for Haiti is that it has a very small GDP. $20 billion a year for a country that is, hold on, let me make sure I get this number right. For a population of 11 million people, which basically puts most people at the poverty line in the United States. And so, you know, opportunity is scarce. There is a lot of government corruption, and so for me, I find it hard to even know what the answer is in Haiti because of how many different things are at play. But I do think that they should have a government of their choosing. Oh, Loons is going to bed. Good to see you, Looney. Sleep well. Okay. What's next? Okay, this is gonna go to Yemen
The long troubled
now.
nation.
This is a TRT World video that discusses some of the effects of climate change and conflict in Yemen that is affecting local Yemeni fishermen.
The gifts of the sea are vital in Yemen. Years of war and political division has devastated this country. The ripples of Israel's assault in Gaza have spread across the Red Sea. But its impact is being felt by Yemeni fishermen like Omer.
Earlier we used to go anywhere and catch fish. Now it's different. First you have the escalations with the Israelis, and second is the problem of the ships. And we are suffering from the increase in fuel prices. We may go and come back with empty hands, losing the money we paid for fuel.
Yemeni fishermen say these waters are not safe for them anymore. And nearly 30,000 of them are being deprived of their livelihood.
These days, we live in fear. There is no safety anymore. And the situation in the sea is not reassuring. Fishermen are victims. Many of us stopped sailing as we fear from military ships and drones.
In late January, the bodies of 8 fishermen were found at the coast near Hajjah province. The Houthis, who control this part of the country, accuse international actors of being responsible for their deaths by militarizing the sea.
Deep seas are dangerous, so fishermen have to stick to shallow water, which only provide little money that doesn't cover the cost.
More than half of Yemen's population face food insecurity according to the World Food Program. Many here fear food shortages will only get worse, leading into the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Rahul Radhakrishnan, TRT World.
Okay. I just realized it doesn't really cover climate change. For some reason in my head, and I'd watched this video, in my head it talked about climate change. I think it was just my brain being on climate change so much that it incepted it into my brain. Okay. Alright. Yeah, that's a struggle of a situation there. I mean, if people can't fish, they, you know, like in a place where growing crops isn't really a super easy task, that's a huge problem. It's a huge problem for people, let alone whether or not a holy month is coming up for them. I mean, we got to do something about this food insecurity all over the world, it seems like. And I feel like we have the technology. We have it. We can take care of the situation. It is crazy. Okay, what am I doing next? Oh, this is just, actually, fuck it. No, it's only a minute. We're gonna watch this next video too. This is just a Reuters video discussing OPEC and their decision to hold prices.
The OPEC Plus group of oil producers is holding firm on measures to boost prices.
On Sunday, members agreed to extend oil output cuts of 2.2 million barrels per day into the second quarter. That's a bid to support the market amid concerns that flagging global growth could dent demand. In a surprise move, OPEC ally Russia added to its output curbs. Moscow said it would reduce production by almost another 500,000 barrels per day. Oil prices have been in the balance so far in 2024. They've been supported by geopolitical tensions and attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. But concern over economic growth has pushed the other way. Since 2022, OPEC has pledged a series of production cuts in a bid to prop up prices amid rising output from the US and other non-members. By early afternoon Monday in Asia, international and US benchmark crude prices.
So this sort of stuff, we've been talking about it, and I absolutely agree with Bella Lagrisi saying in chat about its unsustainability. But this also relates back to a topic I've discussed briefly regarding something called peak oil. And when nations like Saudi Arabia do things like this because the price of oil is getting too low for them to profit on getting it out of the ground, that is a sign. That's they're flagging to basically everyone that it costs too much for them to take it out of the ground to sell it at that price, and so they're cutting output. They're cutting what they sell in a way, in an attempt to manipulate markets and prices. So yeah, I just think it's something that we should all be considering, even though it seems so pedantic. But you know, the fact that the world turns to things like tar sands and like methane extraction by way of fracking and other stuff like that, it's a losing battle, and it's unsustainable, just like that chatter Bella said.
Were trading broadly steady. The weekend also saw moves to limit US oil sales to China. Lawmakers unveiled a bill to ban sales to the country from Washington's Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The issue has been a hot topic since President Joe Biden in 2022 sold China crude from the SPR.
Okay, that's about all I wanted to hit on that one. I just, I'd like to try and cover all the important topics that I run into here. So we're going to watch a little part of this next video from AJ Plus from a day ago entitled, "What Does Hezbollah Actually Want?" Great point. Thank you, What You Can Do. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's dysfunctional. It is dysfunctional 100%. Their costs are nothing compared to fracked oil. That's a great point, but it depends on how much you're able to actually pull out of the ground, right? And me personally, I can't do all the math on it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's granted they're getting a lot of subsidies too, so I know that that's involved. If you want to talk about U.S. oil fracking, I don't know exactly how much in subsidies are actually cutting their costs, but if they're able to sell it at the price that they've been selling it for, right, and to be pressuring the Saudis by doing so effectively, it's got in some way they got to be they got to be making it up somewhere, right? So okay, the next video, right? What was I saying? Yes, what does Hezbollah want? AJ Plus might have an answer for us. We'll see.
Could Israel's war in Gaza turn into an all-out war with Hezbollah?
That is fucking loud. Try again.
سيكون قتالنا بلا سقوف بلا حدود بلا قواعد بلا ضوابط.
It's one of Israel's most feared enemies, one of Iran's strongest partners, and one of Hamas's closest allies.
It's considered actually by many military experts as the sort of most powerful non-state actor in the world.
But at the same time, a popular political party with a democratic mandate, admired and hated across the Middle East.
Hezbollah.
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 So let's look at Hezbollah, why it likely would not even exist if it weren't for Israel, and what a war between them would look like. In 1982, Israeli tanks...
Before we get into this, I do like what Bella said here. Overshit means that the human enterprise is consuming natural capital faster than ecosystems can regenerate, and filling natural waste sinks to overflowing. Dr. William E. Reese. I don't know who Dr. Reese is, but he sounds smart.
Crossed the border with Lebanon, launching an invasion that killed tens of thousands of Lebanese and Palestinians. Israel had two goals: to drive the Palestine Liberation Organization out of Lebanon and to empower its allies to take over the country. Israel eventually achieved its first goal, but failed in the second. Instead, its invasion led to the creation of Hezbollah. Hezbollah's name in Arabic literally means the Party of God. And to help us learn more about the group, we're going to talk to Amal Saad, who studied them for decades.
I've written a book on Hezbollah called Hezbollah Politics and Religion. I'm currently writing a book on the organization's regional role and regional power.
And she's going to help us understand the group's goals and motivations and why she thinks a big war between it and Israel is inevitable. Let's start with a bit of history. Lebanon has always been a weak state. It was carved out of Syria while under French colonial rule. The political setup was designed to privilege Lebanese Christians, who were a slight majority of the population at the time. But Lebanon is also home to Muslims, Sunni and Shia, as well as other religious sects. And as is usually the case when you try to privilege one religious group in a country that's home to many, that arrangement led to disaster. And when Israel expelled hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes in 1948, many of them ended up in refugee camps in Lebanon, tipping the demographic balance again. All this played a big part in sparking the Lebanese Civil War, a war that was 7 years old by the time of the 1982 Israeli invasion. It was in this cauldron of civil war and invasion that Hezbollah was forged. The group was founded by Lebanese Shia fighters, with Iran sending support and training.
And so there was the sort of ideological basis of Hezbollah's formation and its commitment to Iran's Wilayat al-Faqih, the supreme leader. So that was one of the bases upon which Hezbollah was formed. But the main raison d'etre was resisting Israel. It didn't sort of participate politically in anything. It wasn't really a major player in the civil war. Its fundamental role was resisting the Israeli occupation.
Hezbollah didn't stay on the outside for long. When the civil war ended in 1990, it ran in elections and has had representatives in parliament ever since. But as Lebanon was trying to put itself back together, Israel's invasion...
What's that, the Sykes-Picot Agreement? Yeah. Yeah, if nobody's familiar with that, the Sykes-Picot Agreement was like a treaty, like a secret treaty, I believe, between like the UK and France, I think. I'm not entirely sure of the whole thing. Hold on. Let me look this up. Yeah. So, it was a 1916 treaty between the United Kingdom, France, with assent from the Russian Empire, and the Kingdom of Italy to define their mutually agreed spheres of influence and control in an eventual partition of the Ottoman Empire, as the Ottoman Empire fell in this time frame, if you will. And the agreement was based on the premise that the Triple Entente would achieve success in deflating the Ottoman Empire during World War I and formed part of a series of secret agreements contemplating its partition. What are we saying? Tejas? Saw a video of a Texas farm trying to keep their feed shed from burning, and in the background was a frack well. Oh God. I didn't even consider it, but wow, that would be terrifying. If that well catches fire, it's just going to turn into a volcano, I feel like.
Had turned into an occupation of the country's south. So, while the agreement that ended the civil war disbanded all the other militias, Hezbollah was allowed to keep its weapons for the fight against Israel. Now, you might wonder why that task fell to Hezbollah instead of the Lebanese army. The answer is that the weak Lebanese state has always depended on competing outside forces.
The Lebanese army is armed by the US, and it's never been in the US's interest to arm the Lebanese army in such a way that it could confront Israel.
Hezbollah, on the other hand, is armed by Iran, although in those early days, its weapons and tactics were still pretty basic.
Hezbollah basically continued to fight a kind of low attrition warfare, guerrilla warfare against Israel to prevent it from expanding again, from building settlements as it did in occupied Palestine.
In fact, Lebanon is the only place that was occupied by Israel where Israel never built settlements. And by
the more that you go over all of this stuff that's gone on in the region, it really does seem like a failure of like early 20th, late 19th century colonialism, kind of, you know, like just trying to divide up territories like it was still like the year 1300 or something. And fact is, like, this shit just can't continue. We have to figure out how to stop all this stuff, all the fighting in this region, because it is gone too far. Anyway, I'm gonna watch just a tiny bit more of this because I think it's really educational to understand more about the region. And AJ Plus is I find that most of their stuff is quite balanced.
In 1992, Hezbollah began firing rockets across the border.
So its guerrilla warfare became more sophisticated, and it embarked on what it called its Katyusha policy, whereby it would respond to Israel's attacks on civilians in Lebanon with attacks on Israel using these short-range missiles.
Israel launched several large attacks on Lebanon in the 1990s in an attempt to degrade Hezbollah's growing power, but only succeeded in killing hundreds of Lebanese civilians.
Its doctors, surgeons and nurses were neither ready nor able to cope with a shocking number of casualties.
And as Hezbollah's ambushes and attacks grew, so did the realization in Israel that it couldn't continue occupying southern Lebanon forever. In 2000, fulfilling a campaign promise, Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak pulled all of Israel's soldiers out. It was the first time Israel had withdrawn from territory it had occupied without conditions or a deal. For many people in Lebanon and across the Arab world, this was a victory for Hezbollah. They were seen as liberators, and that made them very popular. But even after Israel withdrew, Hezbollah did not disarm. It justified that by saying Israel posed a continuing threat to Lebanon. Other reasons included the dispute over a tiny strip of land called the Shib'a Farms and Lebanese prisoners that were still held in Israeli jails who Hezbollah promised to free. And it did. In 2004, Hezbollah freed most of those prisoners, as well as the bodies of dead fighters held by Israel, by swapping them for one Israeli and the bodies of 3 soldiers it had captured in 2000. To free the last remaining Lebanese prisoners.
Okay, I think that's probably enough of this video. I think that was pretty informative up to this point. And if you want to see the rest of it, it's on AJ Plus, entitled What Does Hezbollah Actually Want? Just came out yesterday, like I was saying. A lot of cheese jokes going on in here. Israel tried to kill Hezbollah, but only killed civilians. You feel like you've heard this before? Weird. Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before, too. This next one, gonna come back to America real quick as we are getting into Palestinian stuff, and I figured we would kind of do this. Do I have this in the right order still? No, I don't. I have it in a wrong order. Although, fucking hell. No, we're doing it this way. Okay, these are going to be an interesting group of videos for Palestinian related stuff in America, or well, at least North America, as one of them I believe is from Canada. First one, somehow we missed this yesterday. I'm not sure if they clipped it out of it or if I was just moving too fast. But this is from the protest from Status Quo News that we watched yesterday. And this is the footage of Susan Sarandon speaking. about Palestinians.
Napoleon said, and this is Napoleon Bonaparte, not the Napoleon Dynamite. He said, war is when the government tells you who your enemy is. Revolution is when you figure it out for yourself. And we know who our enemy is. Our enemy is hate. Our enemy is racism. Our enemy is colonization. Our enemy is greed. And our enemy is silence. The silence of those who look away when you see crushed children, starving babies, wailing mothers, fathers digging through the rubble to try to find their families. This is unacceptable. Now, disrupting the narrative of the powerful, fighting for justice can be lonely work. It can be exhausting, but nothing compared to what is happening in Gaza, in Rafah, for the Palestinian people that have been going through this for 75 years. Speaking inconvenient truths can lose you.
Susan Sarandon. Viva la Susan. Susan Sarandon is a Vanguardian. Is that true? Okay. Okay. I did not know that.
Your livelihood. It can lose you friends. It may lose you family. But I want you to look out now at this sea of umbrellas and people here, because we are your family. You are not alone. As he said, there are hundreds more across Manhattan, hundreds of thousands across the United States, millions globally who are standing for Palestine, for justice, for a ceasefire. Millions of people who will keep showing up, who will keep organizing, who will keep speaking out, who will be loud. And we must embrace each other and thank each other and encourage other people to be brave and come out for what will ultimately be proven to be on the right side of history. No one is free until all of us are free. Free Palestine.
100%.
Rain,
100%.
shine, snow, heat wave.
Okay, I think we watched this yesterday, or I'm just having flashbacks from when I watched this whole thing. But if you want to watch this whole video, it is available on Status Coup News, so definitely go subscribe to them and check out their channel. Free Palestine. Good to see all the flags in chat, all the love. You're gonna have to hold on to that love to get through this next video, which is a global news video from Canada regarding tense pro-Palestinian protests in GTA, which I don't actually know what that. I'm trying to think of what that means. Oh, the Greater Toronto Area. Why don't they just say Toronto? It's like 3 more letters. Okay. Okay. But yeah, this is from over the weekend. This came out 3 hours ago. Some of this was pretty disturbing to watch, so trigger warning.
We are here because we are.
Wait, wrong thing. There it is.
You need to calm down and step back. A 27-year-old Vaughan man is facing several charges following a protest outside a Thornhill synagogue Sunday. It's alleged the man, identified by York Regional Police as Ilan Ruben Abramoff, became confrontational with several pro-Palestinian protesters and fired a nail gun at them.
For someone to turn up and start shouting,
Yeah, I don't know if you all saw that, but it was kind of quick.
Just demonstrating.
This guy is literally
several charges following
getting in people's faces, carrying and wielding, pointing at people with a fucking nail gun, pushing them around,
with several pro-Palestinian
knocked his phone out of this person's hand.
For someone to turn up and start shouting at people that are just lawfully there, just demonstrating what they feel is necessary to demonstrate with a weapon.
So just remember, doing that sort of thing to pro-Palestinian protesters, I think you could consider that to be anti-Semitism, because Palestinians are Arabs and Arabs are Semites. I'm just doing the math here, folks. I'm playing the semantics game. But that seems like definitely like a hate crime at the very least. Super scary. I don't think, yeah, and sicko. Absolutely, chat. I agree. It's gross. There's more, so brace yourselves.
That takes it a step too far. It's deplorable.
One of the organizers of Sunday's protest tells Global News they gathered outside the synagogue because of an event that was being held there.
It was more like an organic grassroots response. And as you can see, even if it was formally organized, like what happened was just beyond our control.
In that case, it was on the periphery of a residential neighborhood. This time in Thornhill, this is a mixed residential neighborhood. The protest was targeting a house of worship or the grounds of a house of worship.
On Saturday night, this was the scene outside the AGO. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had been slated to host the Italian Prime Minister, but that event was cancelled.
And the ask was for Canada to end its complicity in this genocide and impose an arms embargo.
I gotta hear that
on
again.
Israel.
This was the scene outside
feel like
the
I'm-
AGO.
I feel
like I'm taking
Prime
crazy
Minister Justin
pills.
Trudeau had been slated to
Worship or the grounds of a house of worship.
On Saturday night, this was the scene outside the AGO. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had been slated to host the Italian Prime Minister, but that event was cancelled.
And the ask was for
Oh,
Canada to
actually,
end
no,
its
that's
complicity
never
in
mind.
this
I take it back.
genocide and
I am taking crazy pills. That actually, hey, they canceled it because they were too scared. He yelled about killing Palestinians too, right? Yeah, you don't know how. I also don't know how, because it doesn't make sense. It should be a hate crime, and hopefully it is charged as a hate crime.
impose an arms embargo on Israel, and to restore the funding to the UNRWA, and to take concrete actions to make a ceasefire a reality on the ground.
Toronto police tell us via email, like other investigations we do following demonstrations, we'll be looking into any incidents of mischief or assault that may have taken place by canvassing for video and speaking to witnesses. As of Monday, no arrests had been made and no injuries reported to police.
What?
In an email to Global News, an RCMP spokesperson says due to
What? 0 arrests? My God, Canada. I know that your policemen wear ridiculous outfits, whatever RCMP does, but come on. 0 arrests after that video? You're kidding me.
several factors, including the size and volatile nature of the crowds at the entrances to the venue, it was not safe to move both prime ministers to the event at the scheduled time. Toronto Police and the RCMP were mobilized to make the area safe for them to enter, but an estimate of how long it would take to make
Here's an idea that might make things more safe. Arrest people wielding fucking nail guns around in public. That's just an idea. It's just an idea.
the entrances safe and accessible could not be guaranteed before the end of the short event.
In the case of the AGO, it's embarrassing for Canada as a country, but it's also very concerning because it has real-life impacts for people who live in this city.
Now, York Regional Police are continuing to get...
It's enough of that video. Ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. I feel like if that had been a video of the reverse situation, it would have been covered and dealt with in such a different way, and that is honestly concerning. That shouldn't be the case. This next one, however, is even more concerning. So brace yourselves even more for this next one. This is another video, which I believe is from also in Toronto at a synagogue where they were having, and what's funny is this is almost a running joke in chat, not related to this at all, but somehow, this is from a synagogue where there was a conference selling land, timeshares, I believe, in the West Bank. So get your MLM hats on, folks. Call Soul Life. He owes us an explanation on how to MLM properly. Well, this is a little combination of MLMs and hatred. So here you go. Next video.
This is private property. You actually have to leave. Where are you from? I'm from here. Here, where do I park for this? I don't care. It's not both here. This is private property. I registered. Where do I park? This is all private property. Yeah, I registered for the event. Where do I park? You can park up my house if you want. Where? Up my house. Why? I registered for the property. That's your problem.
You hear this guy? He has zero respect. He has zero respect for anyone, especially this man in front of him. That is gross. Park up my arse. Wearing this, like, he's wearing an Israeli flag and a scarf with the Star of David on it. Like, pick one.
So who can park here only? Jews only? What is it? So this is a private synagogue. No, but I registered. I don't care what you did. Who are you from? Where are you from? I'm from here. Which property are you from? I'm from here. So I don't get it.
He sounds like he's from maybe Australia. That doesn't sound like a Canadian accent to me. I could be wrong. Doesn't sound like it to me though. You'd park your foot in his ass? I'd pay to see that.
Where do I park if I register? You can park in hell. Why should I park in hell? Because you're wearing that shit on your head. What shit is on my head? You're representing a synagogue and you're calling this shit? Of course it is. From a synagogue?
South African. Yeah, I think you might be right, Bad Lefty. Good pick. Good pick.
Think for yourself, sir. Where do I register for them? Where do I park?
Did you see him? He just walked on the flag. He just walked on the flag. He's ashamed. He should be ashamed of himself. Walking on the flag and that crazy scarf of his? My God. Blasphemy.
Jewish? I'm not Jewish, no. Why are you here? Because I registered for a event. Why did you register for an event? Because they're selling land. I'm interested in purchasing land. Not for you. Have you signed up? Yes, I registered right here. I'm showing you my registration. I just want to know why you're here. I'll let him handle it. I want to buy property. Oh, you do? That's why I'm here. I registered. I want to buy property. So why are you wearing that hat? I'm confused. To buy property in West Bank, you can't wear a hat? You can wear a hat, right? Google says it's in the West Bank.
Google says it's in the West Bank, and these people are just like so mystified by that sentence. They're like, no, it's not. It's ours. Look at this one guy in the back here with the smirk on his face. This dude is gross. He's like, no, it's our apartheid project. What are you talking about?
I want to buy property. No, that's not right. You understand? Palestine is not a Muslim. How many kids have you killed?
Anyway, that was pretty gross, and I'm sorry that you all had to be subjected to that, but I am trying to make sure I cover things. Not shying away from anything. Well, trying not to, at least. There's one video I decided I don't think I can even watch again personally, let alone put it out for you all to watch. I will maybe mention it later for you to search yourselves if you feel brave. How do people get so entitled? I would say, I think everybody wants to be entitled, and it just depends on who you have around you, right? In a lot of ways, not 100%, right? But I feel like if you have a lot of people around you encouraging your entitlement and telling you you deserve that entitlement, and people are trying to take it away from you, you start to believe it, I think. I don't know 100% sure. I'm not 100% on that, but that is my feeling on it. It's sort of this sick cycle of ego stroking, right? And sort of, how else do you put it? I think I've explained it, or at least my feelings on it. Ooh, Soul Life, good to see you. Good to see you. All right, this is just some footage from a Joe Biden event recently, which this fucking poster is grossing me out. So we're not even going to start the video. We're just going to look at this poster first. Okay, look at this thing. This is at a Joe Biden campaign event. And you can see on the back it says "Restore Roe" in huge letters, and to this little poster over here it says "Defend Choice, Restore Roe." If you can read that, it's kind of small probably on your screen, but this is ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. Where have they been this whole time? Where the fuck have they been? Have they not been in the executive office? Am I feel like I'm taking crazy pills! Because he's been in charge this whole time, right? He has the power of the pen, or whatever it's called. Like, he's in the Oval Office. He's got all these people that are supposed to be top-notch, and yet somehow we need to restore Roe. We couldn't have done something to avert this from happening. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's pissing me off right now, and he said nothing. It's just like, that poster shouldn't exist. It never should have been taken out of law. Sorry chat. I'm gonna contain myself so we can watch this video. By the way, this is another AJ Plus video.
How many kids have you killed in Gaza? How many women have you killed in Gaza? Palestine is a feminist issue. Palestine is a feminist issue. Gaza is a feminist issue.
I had a chance to sit down.
Yeah, BCAT. I do remember how we said that they haven't said anything until now because they're using it as a wedge issue, and it's just so deeply cynical to me. It's a repulsive thing. It is genuinely gross, and it's literally playing games with women's bodies, and I don't appreciate it. I find it to be fucking just insanity and just nonsense. It's not leftist politics. It's just, what even is it? It's who called it? The dementiarchy. It's the dementiarchy at play here. It feels like just nonsense defending nonsense. Okay.
Israel kills 2 mothers every hour in Gaza. Cease.
Who boos that? Who the fuck boos that? You have to be a real gross person to be booing somebody speaking up for dead people. And with stuff like this, like being put all up there, and you know, now that it's finally, oh, it's the general election cycle now, oh, we better talk about some stuff like Palestine and women's issues. But you know what? Like, who are these people supporting? Like, I don't even recognize them. It doesn't make any sense. These are the supposed center leftists that we're supposed to work together with. It makes me deeply, deeply sad.
Fire now! Ceasefire now! You are killing children and mothers!
It doesn't even feel like people know what they're saying 4 more years to. What are they saying 4 more years? 4 more years of what? Can anybody answer that question for me? Because I have my own answers. I wonder if these people actually have answers. I wonder if they're not paid to just be here and shout this garbage. Because nobody, I don't feel like anybody in their right mind is out there cheering for Joe Biden. Who's doing it? Who's cheering for 4 more years? I'm not. I came down to earth and I voted in 2020. I voted for Joe. I'm certainly not cheering 4 more years. I'll tell you that much.
I voted for you! How can you be jealous like Joe? I voted for you! Women in Gaza are being murdered! Killing people in Gaza is a war crime! You are a war criminal! You are killing Gaza!
Here's the thing. I would be so much more son of a bitch. Stop this nonsense. Stop this craziness. I would be more apt to be on board for the Joe Biden train if, for instance, they had actually defended Roe, if they'd actually somehow figured out a way to stop all of this from happening, right? If they had been at all capable. They can't now use it after losing it as like a message for voting. It's hypocritical, and it feels it's just like an oxymoron. It's like, vote for us, we lost it for you. And I'm not saying we should vote Republican. I'm saying we need something else than the people who are currently touting this shit, because they did not do their jobs. People who were talking before Biden was elected about padding the courts and doing all this stuff never happened. Said they were too focused on breaking the rail union strike and covering for Norfolk Southern in East Palestine, sending bombs to Israel to commit a genocide. And I'm running out of reasons to support them. Milquetoast incrementalism. Ooh, wow. Now those are a couple of interesting words put next to each other. This next video is actually from 2 weeks ago, I think. But it just passed by my eyes today. And this is of a man in Japan demonstrating alone against the genocide in Gaza. For 3 months, Yusuke Furusawa has called out to people in Tokyo by day and night for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The activist posted videos almost every day on his Instagram account, and he chooses his location strategically. With nothing but his sign, he targets boycotted brands like Starbucks, McDonald's, Zara. Yusuke Furusawa also demonstrated outside the Japan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the U.S.-Japan Embassy, and even in the neighborhood of the Israel Embassy. I feel hopeless that such human rights violations are spread so calmly in the 21st century. Furusawa turned out for his latest protest despite the snow. Okay. And this is also from 2 weeks ago. I just didn't catch either of these videos as I was so focused on like the actual events happening in Gaza, so I just felt like we deserved to watch some stuff here of people supporting Palestinians in their own ways. So this is a video showing the Maori people of New Zealand who compare their colonization with Palestine. This is whose video is this? AJ Plus again? Yeah.
Stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people.
Maori activists say the resistant movement... Wait, hold on. I'm going to read that. Sorry. Maori activists say the resistance movements over the last several decades have been inspired by Palestinians. Maori activists say they stand against Israeli violence in the Palestinian territories.
In 1965, they took our tipunas.
They took our ancestors.
The soldiers came here.
Soldiers came here to Waiora, to Napier.
And they took my people from here. And they were imprisoned over in the Whanakone.
We cry for those that have passed. Okay.
These days, criticizing...
Okay, slow down, AJ Plus. Well, I've got a lot of AJ Plus videos today. What's that about? I do like them. They've always kind of just been a good news organization. And I know there's some issues with the Qatari government, so I'm not trying to say that there aren't, but A lot of governments have problems. Alright, I've always found that it's much better to get news from outside of the country on news inside your country, as they're less likely to try and hold back and tell you the truth. That's just me. Okay, Maori? Am I saying it wrong? The clouds outside the station are lovely. Alright, this next video, I don't know if you've all seen this yet or not. This is also from like a little over a week ago. This is another AJ Plus video talking about how Israel and its allies weaponize anti-Semitism. And it does feel like a lot of people have been criticized for being anti-Semitic who haven't been anti-Semitic. And I think it's important for us to be able to distinguish between the two and to be able to look at this. So, alright. Let's watch part of this video.
Israel gets backlash like this.
When the ICC investigates Israel for fake war crimes, this is pure anti-Semitism.
From the River to the Sea is anti-Semitic.
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century.
Those calling for a ceasefire are legitimizing anti-Semitism.
But here's the thing. Investigating Israel for war crimes or demanding a ceasefire in Gaza is not anti-Semitic, which is hatred of Jews. It's criticism of the state of Israel, and the two are not the same thing. So how did criticism of Israel and charges of anti-Semitism come to be interchangeable, and what have the consequences been? I spoke to two Jewish experts who work closely on the issue.
This has become a well-worn strategy of the Israeli government and its defenders to conflate all criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism.
That's Simone Zimmerman, who's with the Diaspora Alliance. It's an organization that fights anti-Semitism and its misuse.
It's an insult to Jewish history, and it cheapens the idea of what these words actually mean.
And this is Laura Friedman, the president of the Foundation for Middle East Peace and a leading expert on Israel and Palestine.
So if you can't win the arguments over Israeli policy, you're going to have to just shut down the criticism of Israel. There's something so twisted about where we are today.
So how did we get here? Well, if you listen to the pro-Israel establishment and its supporters, you hear the conflation of two very distinct terms.
Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, period, full stop.
Anti-Zionism is the modern mutated form of anti-Semitism.
The high anti-Semitism now is anti-Zionism.
I don't know how many times we've heard that, but it's ridiculous. And it really bugs the hell out of me. I'm not personally Jewish, but I did grow up with Jewish family as a child, and obviously through my life, and friends who are Jewish. I went to countless, not countless, but it would take me a second to get them all together in my head, bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs of friends and family, and it grosses me out that people want to call me an anti-Semite for being anti-Israel and anti-Zionism, anti-apartheid, being pro-human rights and pro-Palestinian rights. And it's like, please don't say this to me, because it makes me very angry.
Okay, let's first unpack.
And I'm not clear, if I didn't make it clear, I'm not Jewish, okay? Neither religiously or genetically, but no. I am not gonna pull a George Santos. I am not Jewish, okay? That's not, no. No, that lefty. No, I knew what you meant. You don't need to correct yourself.
The definition of these terms. Anti-Semitism means hatred, prejudice, threats, and violence against Jews because they are Jewish. It's very real and it exists. Anti-Semitism in Europe is what led to the Holocaust, during which 6 million Jews were murdered by Nazis. Anti-Zionism, on the other hand, is the movement against Zionism. Zionism is an ideology that took root in the late 19th century among some Jews in Europe. It's the belief that Jews should have their own separate Jewish ethno-state, and it led to the creation of Israel in 1948, at the expense of the indigenous Palestinian population that lived there. Anti-Zionism challenges the very ideological basis of Israel as a nation-state. The movement existed decades before Israel, originally among Eastern European Jews who opposed Zionism's objective of moving Jews out of Europe.
The Zionist project to this day is built on an ideology of supremacy that provides exclusive and superior rights only for Jews. Anti-Zionism rejects that ideology of Jewish supremacy and seeks to dismantle it.
Now, it's important to note that not all Zionists are Jews. In fact, evangelical Christians are some of the most fervent Zionists in the world. It's a topic I reported on while in Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank. And just as not all Zionists are Jews, not all Jews are Zionists, although many are taught from a young age that supporting Israel should be part of their identity.
For me, growing up, being pro-Israel was a core part of my Jewish identity.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, is that it is in some ways indoctrinated, not in all synagogues, but there are a lot of cozy relationships between synagogues and Israel in some cases. Once again, not all cases, especially when it comes to, say, Orthodox Jewish synagogues. Not to say, oh shit. Oh, choking on tea over here. Sorry, chat. What was I saying? But yeah, and like, I know people who have gone on pilgrimages to Israel and have now, after everything seen, what they've seen, they no longer support Israel. What are you supposed to be looking up? Lance guilted you away from Santos. Oh, that's good. Lance did a good thing. It's probably for the best, Soul Life.
I saw attacks on Israel as a personal attack.
For decades, there's been a concerted effort to collapse the distinction between the Jewish religion and Zionism. And that significantly ramped up in the 2000s after it became clear that Israeli leaders had abandoned all pretenses of seeking a political solution with Palestinians.
You can no longer with a straight face say that Israel really wants peace, they support a two-state solution, they don't want to oppress the Palestinians. That's where we saw the birth of this new definition of anti-Semitism.
That definition Laura's talking about is at the crux of this growing trend to conflate criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. It's known as the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism. IRA stands for the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance.
Now, this is important because many organizations and people, groups use the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism because they're reputable. They have a reputation of being a leading fighter of anti-Semitism. So it only makes sense that people use this. However, their definition is crazy.
Who could be against an organization that's trying to remember the Holocaust and make sure people don't forget? That's a good thing.
You would think. But in 2016, the definition IRA published included 11 contemporary examples of anti-Semitism, 6 of which relate to Israel, including that it's anti-Semitic to claim that the existence...
Hold on, we're going to read these because this shit is pretty intense. Accusing the Jews as a people, Israel as a state, or inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Now, that one is normal. That one is fine. And I think that is... anti-Semitic, unquestionably. If you're saying that, then you gotta question yourself, okay? Because that shit's fucking crazy talk.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
But, like, accusing Jewish citizens, which I assume means actually Israeli citizens, and it's very strangely worded here because there technically is no Jewish state. It's in the state of Israel. So I assume they're accusing Israeli citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. Now that confuses me. So I guess what they're saying is, yeah, and that one I also can't disagree with, to be perfectly honest. Like, that is anti-Semitism, right? Going after people who are Jewish, who aren't claiming to be supporters of Israel as being more loyal to Israel is like commonplace, and has been a long standing of doing that, which dates back to the Holocaust, and actually before it. But like, you know, the problem is that they continue to conflate Israel with Jewishness, and so how is anybody supposed to be able to even navigate it? And I think that's the point. All right, we're going to continue reading this, though. Denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor. So claiming that Israel is a racist endeavor, and that people who, from what I can understand about this, saying that the Jewish people who choose to use self-determination by becoming Israeli citizens, moving to the state of Israel, and engaging in a racist state's government, you know, by becoming a citizen is a racist endeavor. I think that's just a factual statement, and that's not anti-Semitism in any way. You can't even claim it. Let's see, what's this next one? Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, e.g. claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel to characterize Israel or Israelis. Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, technically, it really bugs me that a lot of Israelis like to use the Bible, though, to claim their heritage to the site of Israel. It's very frustrating because if you want to claim the Bible, then you have to say, you have to read the New Testament, in which the Jews did kill Jesus. But I'd rather we just threw out both Bibles and just kind of moved forward from religion entirely. But that's just because you know me. I'm kind of sick of religion getting involved in state issues. One thing that bugs me a lot about the Israel situation is their use of the Star of David as the flag, because it does make it confusing, I feel like, for people, because it's like that is a Jewish symbology, right? Or symbolism. Sorry, symbology. That's not a word. And I think it starts from that place, essentially, of the ethno state, of conflating the state with all of Jewishness. And it's, I mean, geez, if that's what they intended to do, it was well thought out. Drawing comparisons of contemporary Israel policy to that of the Nazis is anti-Semitism. So if you claim that anything that Israel has ever done was somehow analogous to actions taken during World War II and the Holocaust, then you are an anti-Semite, according to the IHRA. But this last one is in fact anti-Semitism, holding Jews collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel. Yeah. So there's like I think like three of six of these are actual anti-Semitism, and then the other three are definitely ways to just keep people from protesting the state of Israel's policies. At least it would seem that case. Godless space got me. Yeah, bad lefty, you got me. You caught me.
Including that it's anti-Semitic to claim that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Side note, Israel was created as a Jewish ethno-state, treating Jewishness as a race, violently expelling the Palestinian majority, and enforcing what even Israel's leading human rights organization calls an apartheid system. But the IRA definition won't have that.
The argument was made that all or most...
Hey, at least I caught myself while I was saying that, okay? Why are you just typing random letters now? What the hell are you doing, Soul Life? I expect more from you as a mod. Can't even type. Get your shit
enforcing
together.
what even Israel's leading human rights organization calls an apartheid system. But the IRA definition won't have that.
The argument was made that all or most criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. We're going to put this in a definition. We're now going to take this definition and put it into law around the world. And we're going to use this as a blunt instrument to shut down once and for all these arguments. And that's where we are today.
At least 40 governments have adopted the IRA definition, as well as hundreds of universities and NGOs around the world, even as scholars and dozens of human rights groups like Amnesty International decry its implementation.
Symbology should be a word. Look, I think it technically is now because so many people have used it, but initially it was not a word. The word was symbolism. I'm almost 100% positive of this. And there was an entire soliloquy about it in Boondock Saints by Willem Dafoe. So, you know, at least up to a point, it was in fact the correct word. But now because of, you know, the way that things work, whatever is published becomes reality. And everything is published now.
That's because the IRA definition has been weaponized to silence criticism of Israel, curtail freedom of speech, and foster anti-Palestinian racism. A 2023 report found dozens of cases where IRA was explicitly used to target those advocating for Palestinian rights throughout Europe, even for something as simple as liking a social media post that condemned Israel's actions. And it's happening in the US too. The US House of Representatives passed a resolution in late 2023 that equates anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
Well, I think that's GG for everybody in chat, including myself, because I'm definitely against the policies of Israel, which is what anti-Zionism is, and or at least the creation of a ethno-state in the middle of the Middle East. And it's yeah. Wow. So yeah, GG everybody.
As defined by IRA. And the spirit of IRA is guiding organizations like the Pro-Israel Anti-Defamation League, or ADL, in how they track anti-Semitism. For instance, a recent ADL report found a huge spike in anti-Semitic incidents in the US after October 7. But when you dig deeper into the numbers, you find that 40% of those incidents were simply pro-Palestine rallies, many of which, by the way, were led by Jewish organizers.
Like, seriously, like, that is the definition of what people used to call, like, the snowflake culture, or like, you know, like, because everyone's like, oh, like we say a word and you melt. Like, a protest is not anti, especially something like this, calling for ceasefire, let Gaza live. Jews say never again is now, right? Like, this is not anti-Semitism. And just being subjected to somebody protesting on the street using the First Amendment isn't anti-Semitism, right? Unless they're somehow attacking you in some way directly, or using actual, like, anti-Semitic language. But ceasefires aren't intrinsically anti-anything aside from violence.
Like the ADL have no qualms in just calling thousands of Jews anti-Semitic. The whole thing would be laughable if it weren't so insulting.
And the IRA definition is finding its way into laws. As of 2024, 4 US states explicitly have the IRA definition of anti-Semitism in their hate crime laws, with many more attempting to do so.
There's a reason why the people who want to shut down Palestine Voices, Palestine protesters, want the IRA definition in the hate crimes law. It's being used to attack Palestine Voices or pro-Palestine voices pretty much across every part of society.
And that's especially true on college campuses. US universities have always been a place where anti-Israel speech has been curtailed. But in 2019, this practice of silencing pro-Palestine voices was legitimized when former President Donald Trump signed an executive order that enforced the IRA definition on college campuses.
The biggest problem is a chilling effect. We see lawsuit after lawsuit and complaint after complaint targeting activists on campus, targeting administrators, targeting professors. We literally have cases based on somebody had a...
It's the new, what's it called? This is the new Red Scare, right? That's what it is. It's crazy. Wait, we're still discussing symbology or symbolism? Look up symbology or symbolism or symbology on Google, and I feel like you'll get more of a picture of what I'm talking about. Also, the definition of symbolism is much more, because I just did it on my phone, but I'm not going to do it on my computer too. It's not necessary. But, like, the definition for symbolism actually goes into its origins and it being from early 19th century France and all this other stuff, whereas symbology is just sort of an accepted synonym. When you can't sleep, you'll join. Good to see you, Vincent Morales. Oh, looks like What You Can Do is back again. Good to see everybody back.
And it said river to the sea, so you're claiming it's a hate crime.
By the way, it's worth noting that the guy who drafted the IRA definition later spoke out against how it's been...
We still have the Red Scare. That's a good point. So it's... I'm trying to think of a good one here. My mind is blanking. But you're right. There is sort of a Red Scare going on too. But it's now got this sort of head of the dragon, if you will.
Weaponized by the right-wing Jewish community, writing that using IRA to define hate speech on campus is an attack on free speech and will not only harm pro-Palestinian advocates, but also Jewish students. Do you
exactly? And I think they go into this more. I'm not going to just prevaricate. I'll let them speak.
Effort to silence any sort of criticism of Israel as anti-Semitic as harmful to Jews and dangerous?
Absolutely. I have no problem saying absolutely clearly it is anti-Semitic to conflate Israel and Jews. And the ADL and I agree on that. The problem is that what the ADL also say, if you don't conflate Israel and Jews, you're an anti-Semite.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Did you hear that sentence? That broke me inside. That made no sense.
Problem is that what the ADL also say, if you don't conflate Israel and Jews, you're an anti-Semite.
So it's anti-Semitic. It's anti-Semitic for sure to conflate all Jews with Israel, but it's also anti-Semitic to not do it. It's like the Schrodinger's cat of racism, basically. If you look at it, you're racist, basically. I don't know if you're all aware of that experiment or a thought experiment, but yeah. Wow. I really do feel like I'm taking crazy pills right now.
And that's incredibly dangerous, because my argument, which says you shouldn't go out and target a Jewish kid because they're Jewish and hold them accountable for what Israel's doing, but you're simultaneously insisting that every Jewish kid on campus, support for Israel and Zionism is intrinsic to their identity. You are effectively conflating every Jewish person with the state of Israel. That is incredibly dangerous.
And in the midst of all this, you have Israeli leaders promoting nationalist interests over fighting actual anti-Semitism around the world.
There's a history of Israeli government leaders actually playing down very dangerous forms of right-wing anti-Semitism.
Exactly. It is crazy to me that Benjamin Netanyahu and Itamar Ben-Gvir and, like, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but the point is like the Likud government wants to cozy up to people from Unite the Right and like the Tiki torturers, basically, or the people that the Tiki torturers elected, right? And it's like, hello, they're literal anti-Semites. They're Zionists. They think that you should be here, but for the wrong reasons.
Because some of the very same people that promote that are allies of the Israeli government, who they see as part of building a world of racism and fear and division.
Take, for example, the far-right xenophobic Prime Minister of Hungary, or the Italian Prime Minister who herself was a member of a neo-fascist movement as a teenager, who have both found a friend in Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And of course, former President Trump, who courted white supremacists in his base and called neo-Nazi protesters very fine people. But Israeli leaders like Netanyahu give all of them a pass because they have the right view on Israel. And in the face of the very real threat of anti-Semitism perpetrated by white supremacists, we've also seen some Israeli leaders implicate Palestinians as a similar threat to Jews. In 2018, a white supremacist killed 11 Jewish worshippers at a Pittsburgh synagogue in what was the worst attack on Jews in US history. But listen to how this Israeli leader, speaking to that congregation a few days later, seemingly equated the white supremacist perpetrator with Palestinians who had nothing to do with the attack.
From Sderot in Israel to Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, the hand that fires missiles is the same hand that shoots worshippers. We will fight against the hatred of Jews.
So untrue. It's just so untrue. I've never met, well, I don't meet a whole lot of white supremacists, if I'm being perfectly honest, but, well, more than I'd like to, but I don't exactly run in those circles. So, like, but I feel like every single one out there hates Palestinians, hates all brown people, all Arabs, and loves Israel. So I just don't understand how this guy is going to come out here 3 days after a fucking mass shooting at a synagogue and say that. That is so gross. Make America seabed again. I don't know what that's referencing. That one's throwing me off. You're gonna have to give me some clarity on that one. What you can do.
Anti-Semitism, wherever it raises its head.
He drew a direct line from the Pittsburgh shooter to Palestinian militants. There are real reasons why so many Jews are afraid for their own safety. And very often we see Israeli government leaders weaponize that fear and misdirect it at Palestinians. Palestinians are not responsible for the Holocaust. And yet the state of Israel repeatedly uses the memory of the Holocaust to stoke anti-Palestinian racism and to justify its actions.
I've actually heard some extreme Zionists claim that that Palestinians were directly what's the word? Responsible, I guess. Directly responsible for the Holocaust. Granted, it was in YouTube comment threads, and we know that how YouTube comment threads go, but you know, I heard it more than once. So so that's the thing. That's the only reason I bring it up, is because it was on a multiple occasions that I heard that. And it's just it is crazy. Because you'd think that if you knew anything about history, you'd blame, at least you kind of get it close to who the right people are. And it's not that hard to figure out. It was the Nazis. Now, sure, could you blame some of the other powers in Europe for not doing their part, or allying with the Nazis? Yeah, you could. But I feel like you'd be doing too much work to get to the wrong conclusion. Anyway, we're going to finish this one out, move it along.
Against Palestinians.
And to shield itself from international law. When Israel was recently on trial for genocide against Palestinians in Gaza at the International Court of Justice, a court set up in the wake of the Holocaust to prevent the atrocities that Jews had experienced.
Yes, exactly. The Grand Mufti BS. Thank you, Bad Lefty. I couldn't remember the reference they were trying to use. It was so arcane and nonsensical. It just didn't add up at all.
Many Israeli leaders accused the court of anti-Semitism.
The Hague hearing, it's a show of shame, hypocrisy, and blatant anti-Semitism.
The idea that the Israeli government is weaponized.
Okay, delete that comment when you're done, Bella. I just don't want to get in trouble. I'm pretty sure that's a crime. But I like it. I'm not going to delete it. It's totally up to you. Free speech. But yeah, I don't know what the... I'm just thinking out loud, just for you, just for your sake, because I don't want to see something bad. I love the sentiment of that. I really do. I can't stress that enough. Just looking out for you. Take it as nothing other than that. Okay, we got a few more here to look through. Let's see what we got. Alright, this is from about 5 days ago. I think this was on Monday. Over the weekend, there was a film festival. You've probably seen this at this point, but we haven't watched it on the stream. I was planning to, and somehow didn't make it into my list. Whoops. Switch.
We are standing in front of you now. Me and Bassel are the same age. I am Israeli, Bassel is Palestinian. And in 2 days, we will go back to a land where we are not equal. I am living under a civilian law, and Bassel is under military law.
I'm just gonna read this not the comments. These little CCs, whatever you call these things. He's talking about the occupied West Bank, which has been under Israeli military rule for decades. This means Palestinians living there, like Abraham's co-director Bassel Adra, are subjected to discriminatory laws and policies, such as being under military law. Adra and Abraham were accepting an award for No Other Land at the Berlin International Film Festival. The documentary tells the story of the Israeli occupation of Masafer
my community
Yatta.
Is being also raised by Israeli bulldozers. I ask one thing for Germany, as I am in Berlin here, to respect the UN calls and stop sending weapons to Israel.
Okay. Have been accused of being anti-Semitic. And one of them is a Jewish Israeli who lives, I believe, in Israel. Full citizenship there. Like he was saying, he lives under civilian law with rights, whereas his friend is under military law. He can be subjected to any sorts of atrocities that an occupying power, such as Israel, might commit. Not that it would be legal according to international law. And speaking of legal under international law, this is from 11 hours ago at the UN General Assembly meeting, with the Palestinian ambassador urged immediate action against Israel's atrocities. Let's listen in.
And I now invite the representative of the Observer State of Palestine to take the podium.
By the way, I would just like to point out that he pointed out that, well, not intentionally, I don't think. Well, it is everything. I guess everything the UN does is kind of intentional, but Palestinian representative was referred to as being from the observer state of Palestine because it's not an actual state. Because Israel and the US haven't allowed it for decades. Allergic to bullets. Yes, I think most people are pretty allergic to bullets. I don't know if you mean just by touching them you have some sort of allergic reaction, but yeah, I don't think anybody has any positive responses to being shot.
Mr. President,
I can't remember if I responded to this one, but have you been hanging out on like on Reddit over there, BCat? Wow, it's a little masochistic, you know. I've never been on either of those for whatever reason. I haven't really spent basically like any of my life on Reddit. Just very quick moments where I felt like I needed a forum to like check on something. I'm trying to think of what I've used Reddit for. Practically nothing.
There is no greater threat to international peace and security than the commission of atrocities. And yet, for 5 months now, Israel has been committing atrocities against the Palestinian people, unchecked and unhinged. And the Security Council has been prevented repeatedly from calling for an immediate ceasefire to put an end to these atrocities. This is what we are talking about, and that's why we are here today. Stopping the daily war crimes and crimes against humanity that are integral to this Israeli assault, and putting an end to the genocide underway. Israel has unleashed death against 2.3 million Palestinians under multiple forms: indiscriminate bombing, summary executions, disease, dehydration, and starvation. Starvation is not an unfortunate consequence of the war. It is one of the methods of war used by Israel. Israel is starving our people. The people besieged, bombarded, killed, and maimed and displaced. Israel is starving our children, orphaned, disabled, terrorized. Have you seen the images of Palestinian children as their lives were taken away? Or their limbs? Have you seen them shivering, scared, scarred? Have you seen them being starved?
Yeah, great question. Okay. I think that's all we need to see of that one. And something else has just come out, so I think we should watch this. This is very recent news. I guess it's not that. How recent is this? Is this right? Kinda recent. Pretty recent. Certainly something I missed somehow. Let's see, where is it? You know, we'll watch this next one just so that I stick with what we've been doing and finish up this part of it. Well, it feels like we're gonna go right back to it. Okay. What the fuck? Don't do that.
You need to calm down.
Only in Gaza do you see multiple kids having heart attacks. There's some other stuff that I recently saw that's more horrifying than that somehow. I don't even know how that's possible, but yeah.
Israeli Prime Minister Ben.
This is an interesting development. It came out 5 hours ago from CBC News Network Live, entitled Netanyahu's Rival Meets with U.S. Officials as Calls for His Resignation Grow. So this is very interesting, very breaking news. Came out this evening, and let's see what this is about. Does give one thought about what we're planning.
Benjamin Netanyahu is facing growing calls to resign.
Israel is being controlled by a coalition of semi-dictatorial, fascist people.
Thousands of protesters took to the streets in Israel over the weekend. These were the scenes in Tel Aviv, where hundreds of protesters reportedly held signs reading "Ceasefire now" and "No more blood spilled." Meanwhile, according to reports, Netanyahu is furious with one of his war cabinet ministers. Benny Gantz, Netanyahu's main political rival, is in the United States right now. He's meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and National Security Advisor.
Ugh. That is unfortunate. That is very unfortunate.
Jake Sullivan. The trip was reportedly organized without Netanyahu's approval.
Don't do that.
Rhonda Sleem is the Senior Fellow and Director of the Conflict Resolution and Track 2 Dialogues Program at the Middle East Institute. Rhonda Sleem, welcome back to the show. Good to speak with you.
Good to be with you.
Let's start with those images we played off the top. Netanyahu and his government facing protests inside Israel. Now his main political rival is meeting with senior U.S. officials without the Israeli Prime Minister's approval. How do you interpret these events?
I mean, as far as the U.S. administration, there is growing dismay, dissatisfaction, lack of patience anymore with Mr. Netanyahu. They have given him plenty of chance to, in a way, get his act together to present a plan, especially for what happens after, especially on the humanitarian assistance, to surge humanitarian assistance. Gaza is on the verge of famine. We are seeing children dying from malnutrition and hunger. And this is all happening as the Israeli cabinet, led by Mr. Netanyahu.
Okay. Gotta pause this just to give us some more context to this sort of situation. Benny Gantz, I don't think is gonna. This is just my opinion, okay? But I don't think Benny Gantz is any better than Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, he might not be in the Likud party, but he formed his own party called the Israeli Resilience Party. He was formerly a general, I believe, in the IDF, and the ideology and policies of the Israeli Resilience Party, which once again was created by Benny Gantz, is according to the official registration documents, is to continue to establish and strengthen the state of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state in light of the Zionist vision as expressed in the Declaration of Independence. So he's basically fully on board for the ethno-state that as Israel exists currently, and I don't think would be any improvement. Yeah, exactly. Gantz is no dove. So your chat knows what's up. Yeah, he is no spring chicken. He's just as bad, I would say. It's probably just as hawkish as Benjamin Netanyahu. Just has a better reputation right now in Israel, because honestly, Benjamin Netanyahu has been fighting to remain in power for years in Israel, so he's not very popular. All right, we're gonna listen to a little bit more of this.
Preparing an attack on Rafah in southern Gaza, which now housed, more than around 1.4 million Palestinian refugees. So there is concern, but at the same time, as you have shown in your pictures, there is also concern among the Israeli public that this government is taking them nowhere. I mean, that there is no strategy, there is no way out of this conflict, that I don't think they will be able to kill their way out of this conflict.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to kill their way out of this conflict either. To be perfectly frank, it seems completely nonsensical. And if they were to, let's be real, I don't think that anybody could argue that Israel should continue to exist if they do. Right? Because it is my belief that they'll have to kill every Palestinian left in Gaza to do it. And so, if you complete a genocide, right, to whatever degree like that, I mean, at what point will people just say, wow, you're fully Nazi Germany, you need to be punished? And it's already happening. Even though Israel's boycotting The Hague, that means anything. They're being convicted essentially as we speak. Anyway, speaking of being convicted as we speak, this is the UN Security Council discussing the situation in the Middle East from earlier today.
Tonight, 2 Trump allies facing prison time.
Wait, no, don't do that. Not this one. This one. Is this just from outside it? What the fuck is going on? What is going on? Why did I... why... what? Okay, never mind, chat. I just got debated. I just got debated by the AP. I just got debated by the AP. That is nuts. What is happening? What is happening? What is going on? I don't understand. How did that happen? How can the AP put out a video like that? Granted, I didn't look it over. I was like, oh, this is important stuff. But it's a full hour video from outside what appears to be Congress? Zero content on the UN Security Council discussing the situation in the Middle East. What is wrong with these people? Be better. Be better at your jobs, AP. That is rude. That is super rude. Okay, then I guess we'll watch this one.
Tonight, 2 Trump allies facing prison time. The former Trump org CFO Alan Weisselberg pleading guilty to perjury over lies he told in a 2020 deposition, less than a year after he was released from prison for committing tax fraud at the Trump org. The Justice Department also urging an appeals court to send ex-Trump advisor Peter Navarro to prison. He is challenging his contempt of Congress conviction. They are far from the only Trump allies
Oh,
to learn
man.
the price of loyalty to Trump.
That makes me
When
want to
Jim
watch
Grass is
that
out
chick.
front.
Oh my god. Actually, we might do that. Just because it's so funny. Where's the video?
Alan Weisselberg heading to jail again after serving 100 days in the notorious Rikers Island prison.
Any message for Mr. Trump? Anything to say?
And not a word incriminating Donald
Wait, what's
Trump,
his name
the
again?
man
I
who
forget.
secured loyalty from Weisselberg for
What is
decades.
this guy's name? Why don't I know him?
Challenging his contempt of Congress conviction. They are far from the only Trump allies.
What is this idiot's name?
Ex-Trump advisor Peter Navarro. To
Peter
prison.
Navarro, yes, thank
He
you.
is challenging his
Thank you, thank you.
After Sir
Sorry, chat. ADD.
Island prison.
Any message for Mr. Trump? Anything to say?
And not a word incriminating Donald Trump, the man who secured loyalty from Weisselberg for decades, even now after 2 more criminal convictions. The former Trump Organization chief financial officer and protector of the Trump family money raising his hand today and admitting that he lied under oath.
Are you familiar with that acronym?
I've heard of that, yes.
Okay.
In a 2020 video deposition and on the stand during the civil fraud trial last year when the New York Attorney General accused Trump of inflating his assets for his financial benefit.
They are the fraudulent people because they ruled a house that was worth 18. They put down is worth 18 million, and it's worth maybe close to 100 times.
You look so red.
It all comes down to the square footage of Trump's 3-floor triplex in New York City. The Manhattan District Attorney says Weisselberg knew Trump inflated its square footage by nearly 3 times.
Pretty sure that's a crime.
Overvaluating its worth by about $200 million. Yet Weisselberg lied for him anyway. The 76-year-old
That definitely
joins a
sounds like a
growing
crime.
list of Trump associates whose loyalty to the former president landed them in hot water.
This is going to the Supreme Court.
Former White House advisor to Trump, Peter Navarro, appealing a 4-month sentence.
I almost just
for
choked on tea just now. That
to
was
testify-
fucking hilarious. Did you see it? Did you see Cohen over here have to move a plant out of the way? This is so good.
Of Trump associates whose loyalty to the former president landed them in hot water.
This is going to the Supreme Court.
Former White House advisor to Trump, Peter Navarro, appealing a 4-month sentence for refusing to testify and provide evidence to the congressional committee investigating the January 6th attack. Steve Bannon showing the same loyalty to Trump. The MAGA enthusiast
Trump won! Trump won! Trump won!
is also fighting his conviction on similar charges. Courts found separate convictions against Trump allies Roger Stone and Michael Flynn, but Trump exonerated both men.
I think the whole Manafort trial is very sad.
Then there are others formerly in Trump's orbit who have already seen the inside
Exonerating them, I'm pretty sure means that they definitely committed the crimes, right? Isn't that the way that works? So doesn't that implicate him? I guess I'm not a lawyer. I'm just trying to think out loud here.
in cell, like his once campaign chairman Paul Manafort, sentenced to 7 years but released early during the coronavirus pandemic.
To the world, he wants to again appear to have this thick skin. He's not thick-skinned.
And the most outspoken former friend, now enemy of Trump's, Michael Cohen.
Never wear that, Michael. Never wear that again. He looks like he's going. He's a boat captain right now, in like 1930.
Served time in federal prison after lying to Congress and violating campaign finance law.
I believe that he will be found guilty on all charges.
Cohen now planning to continue his crusade against his former boss by testifying for the state at Trump's criminal trial in New York. Bryn Gingras, CNN, New York.
All right, Ryan Goodman, Outfront Legal Analyst.
They're
tonight
all
is with me.
criminals.
Okay, so you
All
believe
of
that this
those
guilty...
guys. But honestly, I don't know if we need this, but what we do need is this. Considering we were just talking about Peter Navarro, this feels more important. No, don't do that. Do that. Be nice. Exonerate means they were found not guilty? Is that the way that works? Okay. I feel like he didn't. I feel like he pardoned them, right? He didn't exonerate them. I don't remember anybody actually being exonerated, right? Wasn't it just being pardoned? And by being pardoned, it means you've already committed the crime. Am I wrong about that? Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like maybe I'm not understanding it fully. I just need to look into it more. But let's see here. I just want to watch this because it was just so funny when it happened. So this is all still happening. Let's watch this. Needs a pipe, a hat, and an eye hat, or eye patch. Okay. Go back. There we go.
Well, Rich, drifting off my image. Come to the microphone, please. Thank you for making me money. To the microphone, yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to say anything now, but I'll have we'll talk with you in the morning. Long day. I want to thank her for raising.
You're welcome. So Cash at me, Bree, BREEMGC. This guy's drifting off. Send me more money.
This is a really interesting process for me. And like I say, I'll have more to say. But the trial will begin tomorrow.
Okay, I threw you too. So yeah, I mean, I guess maybe Aaron Burnett just misspoke, or it was worded incorrectly on the prompter, but I just don't think that's factually accurate.
All right, that's good news. It wasn't a lengthy jury panel, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care. Oh, one last thing. I buried the lead.
Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha!
Witness stand is inside. WW.
So good.
Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. We're all
This
totally
is
trying to look
what's
at a
wrong with
terrorist.
America here. www.defendpeter.com.
This dude is dressed like a train conductor over here with the sign
He has every right to.
and the. Oh, he's the truth conductor. You know what? I was perfectly on with that. I think he's attempting to look like a train conductor. Good job, sir. Good job.
So, come on, don't
he's
do
a,
that.
no, he's a traitor. Traitor.
He's still got a chance to talk.
Let him lie. Let him lie.
The witness stand is inside. Because this is just wrong. I'm trying to speak about serious constitutional.
It's serious, everybody. Can everybody be? Can we just be serious, please?
Marjorie Taylor Greene loves it.
So, defendpeter.com. Please go there, help support this fighting against the attack on the separation of powers. These
Send me
trials
money.
are very
Send me money.
expensive.
Peter's using my image to grift off me. Send me money. Continue.
These trials are very expensive. That's part of the Democrats' warfare.
Hey, that's mean.
How expensive this was?
Come on, dude.
When your client went around the country. You know I got kidnapped because your client kidnapped, raped, and almost murdered by white supremacists.
It's just I know this is from a while back, but it's still as relevant today as it was then. This protester is based AF. So cathartic, enjoyable, pleasurable experience. Just watching a young woman blast Peter Navarro in the face with a whistle and grift, I would say, as eloquently as him and Trump have been, although with less pizzazz and flair. But it's their own flair, right? So who am I to judge? This is real serious and breaking news right now, so we're going to watch this. The ISS docking live of NASA's SpaceX Crew 8 reaches the ISS. Let's find out. Will tragedy strike? Hopefully not. I'm sure anything involved with SpaceX couldn't possibly go wrong.
Fluid shifts from venoconstructive thigh cuffs during space flight, or thigh cuff for short, examines whether thigh pressure cuffs could provide a simple way to counter
The fuck is a thigh pressure cuff?
and help protect astronauts from SANS and other issues on future missions to the moon and Mars. Thigh cuffs could also help treat or prevent problems for patients on Earth who have conditions that cause fluid accumulation in the head, such as long-term bed rest and other diseases. So we'll continue to highlight
They should
more
all
of the
have
science
mobile
that is
hecklers.
flying on Crew
But
8.
we have a comprehensive list of at least 17, was it 18? 18 of his co-defendants. So I'm not sure if we have enough people in chat right now to make it happen, but I think if we networked, we could probably get this done.
Throughout
It would be expensive. It'd be costly for sure, but it might be worth it.
the rest of the broadcast, but again, we are really looking forward to all of this
By the
great
way, this
science
is
that
live right
flying.
now.
In all, there's more than 200 science experiments flying on board Crew 8. So we are coming up on a couple more milestones here as we track towards docking. Again, everything is continuing to go really smoothly. Crew 8 is on their way to the International Space Station.
I don't know
As we
why, but
mentioned
this
before,
chick is
there
giving me
are 3
real Megan
first-time
McCain
flyers on
vibes right
board
now.
this mission, as well as one veteran NASA astronaut, Michael Barrett. And so here soon we should be able to see our first views of the Dragon from the International Space Station as it continues to
SpaceX Dragon CDR speed contract.
Chat, I gotta check something. Just to make sure we don't have any interference with the satellite.
The same.
We are getting some comms from the core to the crew.
They are working to set up the big loop, which is a integrated communications loop between the International Space Station here in Hawthorne, as well as Mission Control in Houston. So they'll get that set up so that everyone can communicate on the same loop. So they're working through that procedure right now. So at this time, Crew 8 is about 3,250 meters away from the International Space Station. We will continue to see that number get smaller and smaller, of course, throughout our show tonight and as we lead up to docking.
Yes, and if you are just now joining us, we have had a few burns already with Dragon making its way to the International Space Station. We've completed the phase burn, the boost burn, close burn, transfer burn, and the co-elliptic burn, as well as the approach initiation burn. So we are getting closer and closer as Dragon approaches the International Space Station with Crew 8, again with 3 members flying in space for the first time and 1 veteran crew member on board. And we're just about a little over an hour, or a little under an hour and 10 minutes away from that expected contact time with the International Space Station.
And on board the International Space Station, there are currently 7 astronauts and cosmonauts that are living and working as part of Expedition 70. Crew 7 arrived last August, and they return next week, so we'll be covering that on nasa.gov for the latest updates for their return. But Crew 7 includes NASA astronaut Jasmine Mogbelli, ESA, or European Space Agency astronaut Andy Mogensen, who is also the current space station commander, as well as JAXA, or Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Satoshi Furukawa, and Konstantin Borisov of Roscosmos. And also on board Space Station is the crew of Soyuz, which launched in September of last year as well. That includes NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara, who will return to Earth at the end of this month, and Kononenko and Chubb, who are completing a year-long mission and will return later this fall. And soon, NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson will be launching to the International Space Station as well, aboard a Soyuz spacecraft that's currently scheduled for March 21st.
And once Crew 8 docks to the International Space Station, for the next several days, 11 humans will be living and working on the space station as Crew 7 and Crew 8 conduct a handover period. The Crew 7 astronauts will bring the new arrivals.
Dragon SpaceX, for awareness, the upcoming approach initiation mid-course burn is in the middle of a TDRS gap that will last for approximately 10 minutes. We will give you the status for that burn after we return at 6:32.
Dragon copies. And say status, Big Loop troubleshooting?
Big Loop troubleshooting is still ongoing. We're trying some additional power cycles of equipment on the ISS side. We do have a plan to use the contingency Big Loop if that becomes necessary,
Yeah.
but I will brief
I
you
was
on
making
that
sure
once
that they
we
weren't trying to
have,
dock with the
more
wrong space
troubleshooting
station.
that's completed.
Dragon.
That was the core here in Hawthorne speaking to the
If I had a camera on the other side of the space station, you'd probably see it happening right now.
crew, giving them an update that we will be coming up on a mid-course burn, which we will not have communications with during that burn. So they will confirm the burn after it is complete and once we have connectivity once again. Again, the Crew 7 astronauts will bring the new arrivals up to speed on everything happening aboard the space station, from emergency procedures to ongoing research. When NASA and SpaceX teams determine whether it is ideal for splashdown, the members of Crew 7 will board Dragon Endeavour, which brought them to the space station almost 6 months ago, and bring them back to Earth.
And as you were saying, soon Crew 7, which arrived back in August after spending 6 months in space, is going to return back to planet Earth. So we're looking forward to that. Of course, you can watch everything from Crew 7 departure to the deorbit burn and splashdown live. And we'll be updating those times on our social media as well as on blogs.nasa.gov. So while we wait for our next milestone, let's take a moment to meet our crew. First up is Commander Matthew Dominic, who hails from Wheat Ridge, Colorado, and is married to Faith Dominic and has 2 daughters. Matthew earned a Master of Science in Systems Engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School, and he was designated as a naval aviator in 2007 and reported to Strike Fighter Squadron 106. He made 2 deployments to the North Arabian Sea, flying close air support missions in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, and he has accumulated more than 1,600 flight hours in 28 aircraft models, 400 career arrestments, and 61 combat missions. In 2015, he was awarded Naval Test Wing Atlantic Test Pilot of the Year, and this is his very first space flight.
Okay.
Dr. Michael R.
I think we've heard enough about this mingling of corporations and space. Space should be free. Free from oligarchy. I might be a lord of the stream, but I'm not a lord of all space. Space is for the people. Okay, a bunch of stuff here to look at still. I just wanted to catch that one at the time it was happening, and I think I might have been a minute late on that. I think they already docked with the space station. I tried. There's too much important stuff to focus on. For the fun stuff, I guess. C'est la vie. Okay. You came by your space station by blackmailing a mad scientist the old-fashioned way. Impressive. I don't know why, but that reminds me. I think it's probably because somebody was talking about Mitchell and Webb the other day, but that reminds me of the Dr. Death sketch on Mitchell and Webb. I don't know if anybody's seen that one, but basically there's like it's funny. And honestly, I feel like we should watch it just because I'm talking about it. Hopefully, I don't get freaking copyright struck. Let's try and have a small amount of fun today. Okay? Just a sliver of fun. You love that, Mitchell and Webb? It's a great show. It's a great show. Okay? And hopefully, we won't be copyright struck for doing this. Fingers crossed. If not, I'll have to trim the video after the fact. But it'll be fun either way. Wait.
Mr. President, this is indeed an honor. I had no idea.
Well, our country's been pouring a lot of money into this secret research of yours. I thought we should find out what we've been paying for.
Indeed. It so happens you are here just in time, Mr. President, Major Agnew. I do not think you'll be disappointed. Behold, then, the giant death ray!
Well, I'll be...
Professor, is that a laser?
Yes, Major Agnew, the giant death ray is indeed a laser. And now perhaps you'll be so good as to place this simple tin of peaches into the path of my laser's beam.
What?
Do it, Major.
Please. Gentlemen, the price of those peaches has just been ascertained electronically and is stored in the information banks of my giant death ray. I thank you. Any questions?
Well, one question that obviously leaps to mind, Professor
Death.
Professor Death, is why on earth you elected to name this contraption of yours the giant death ray. Oh, I see.
Yep.
Professor Death.
Mr. President.
I have a question. This laser of yours...
Death ray, yes.
If you were to increase the intensity of its beam...
Intensity, yes.
Could your death ray not also be used to...
Perform delicate eye surgery? Yes!
No, what I'm asking, Professor, is might this death ray of yours not also have some, well, some military application?
A giant death ray? A military application?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. A military application. Yes, I'll just go and check.
Professor, you're destroying it!
Forgive me, Mr. President, but I am a man of science, not of war. I intended the giant death ray to be used for good, not evil.
Okay.
To help mankind, not to destroy it.
Please, Professor, stop! I understand! Please, Professor Death!
Thank you. Okay, so what else can you show us?
To be used for good?
Absolutely.
None of that evil use. Good uses, yes? Very well. It was my intention to help mankind further, Mr. President, Major Agnew, by affixing the giant death ray to this. The armored scorpion of death. Behold!
Why, by all that's...
Placed behind the counter of any local convenience store, the armored scorpion of death's claws not merely aids the stacking of high shelves, but also easily facilitates the movement of household goods through shoulder-mounted beams maintained by its triangular red eyes.
And the sting?
Fires helpful bullets.
Major.
Well, of course, Mr. President, the military applications of such a device...
No! Forgive me, Mr. President, but I created the laser-fitted armored scorpion of death to help mankind, not to destroy.
What's this unlimited power bomb?
Ah, now that... No! I'm on to you, Major Agnew. Yeah, I got your number. This bomb was created to help mankind, not destroy.
And this? Mind-controlling death ants.
No! The mind-controlling death ants were created to help mankind, not destroy it.
Doom melon?
No! The Doom melon! Still needs some work.
Okay. I don't know why I love that sketch so much. Yeah. Okay, I'm done. I feel like I think that to myself a lot of times when I see people using technology for the worst reasons. I'm like, no! The 3D printer was not meant for Doom. Okay, what are we doing next here? That's serious and real. Hope everybody enjoyed that momentary bit of comedic relief before we get on with things. Wait, what are they doing over here at this NASA space station right now? Okay. Yeah, this story is pretty important. All three of these are pretty important. I think we'll start this way because we already talked about it, and then we'll go down the list. This is from just a couple of hours ago, very recent. The 3D death printer. Exactly. This is in relation to the unrest in Haiti right now. This is happening just earlier today, and it was released just 3 hours ago by the Associated Press, showing Haiti's gangs seizing control of the airport. So let's watch this. Oh, do it. There you go. Oh, no volume. Now, I'm no expert on Haiti, but it does seem like a lot of turmoil happening right now. I didn't make out an airport in this footage, but apparently they have been trying to seize control of the airport. You heard the gunfire. I would assume that's relating to that. This next one is from earlier today as well, on the Colorado ballot. What's wrong?
Former President Trump now praising today's Supreme Court decision to keep him on the GOP presidential primary ballot, one day ahead of the Super Tuesday primaries. In a unanimous decision, the justices rejected attempts from states including Colorado and Illinois to hold Mr. Trump accountable for the Capitol insurrection by not allowing him on the ballot. The justices ruled states cannot invoke a constitutional provision to keep a presidential candidate off the ballot, saying only Congress has that power. Mr. Trump declaring the ruling a, quote, big...
Oh, so we have to blame Congress now? They're going to pass the buck to Congress and say they got to stop him? Okay. Good to know.
Win for the nation.
It was a very important decision. We're very well crafted, and I think it will go a long way toward bringing our country together, which our country needs.
So Trump now focusing on his next Supreme Court case for next month.
How is this guy still on the ballot?
Whether he has presidential...
I'll tell you how. Supreme Court. Great. Wow. So good and so great. Let's see what else we got going on here. Yeah, okay. So this next one is on the war in Ukraine. This is a piece from CNN from just a couple of hours ago, and apparently they are having issues fighting Russia.
Tonight, quote, Ukraine is definitely Russia. That message coming from top Putin ally Dmitry Medvedev today while he was standing in front of a massive map. And if you look at that map, it makes it clear Russia's goal is to completely to consume Ukraine. And the reality on the battlefield tonight remains grim. So our Nick Peyton Walsh has been on those front lines now for days to see with his own eyes. And now he has this report that you will see first out front.
It's a lonely path ahead. The Russians have never been louder or closer. Occupied Bakhmut is just up the road. But now, some Ukrainian tank guns are silent just when they're needed most. Here, they don't have enough.
We should have packed the court years ago. So many missed opportunities at making things just a little bit better. Absolutely. We certainly could have. There were times where we had full Democratic majorities, and instead of using that, they kowtowed to donors and the powerful, and really didn't do a whole lot to improve things, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, because it would have been nice to be in this moment, not worrying about some of these things.
Shells.
Sometimes they just won't fire at all for a whole day. Other days they'll be shooting constantly. And I tell you, it is loud on the other side of that hill, and it's sort of surreal to hear that sort of noise over there and see this tank unit having to ration their ammo.
Без зброї люди є, але без зброї ми самі це не ті війни, що коли з мечем чи шаблею ми могли щось зробити.
We learned they didn't fire at all that day, or the day before, or the next day. The silence here is what losing sounds like. So too is what these soldiers had to say.
Если американцев не решат вам давать деньги, что будет?
Я думаю, що ми всі загинемо просто. Оті, хто тут зараз є, нас не буде.
Is this the worst you've seen it?
Yeah, definitely. I think this year is going to be the worst year in the war. Well, I do know that there's certain units that they're running out of tanks.
How angry does it make you?
Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm absolutely pissed off. There's no point in trying to paint this in any sort of light where it's good for us that Russia takes Ukraine. That's going to be very, very, very bad for us geopolitically.
It's here, Chasiv Yar, that already looks like defeat. Those left sounding like they'd be just about okay when Russia comes.
Я хочу внучку видеть, в Москве внучка, сестра в Калининграде. Да честно, пол России. Там мои родственники. Но я здесь один.
Воды нет, газа нет, света нету, ничего нет. Отъедьте от дома. Они подъезжают прямо к домам, там, где живут люди, и стреляют прямо возле дома. Они прячутся за спинами мирных жителей.
Further south, near Avdiivka, homes that dealt with about 10 years of war just up the road are finally emptying out.
Знаете, уже дом 4 раза потрясло. Я думала, він же саманий. Я думаю, розвалиться. А потом друг так стреляет, что думаешь, все, приехали. Поэтому и самое страшное, что сюда не зашли эти. Да, потому что, нема довіри до людей, у яких руки в крові, понимаете?
The skyline is bleak enough as it is, but
this whole situation is just so depressing. I mean, look at the devastation here. It is crazy. And yet we see similar and worse devastation in Gaza, and yet the media treats the two situations like they're completely different. And yeah, this whole, I mean, everybody that they spoke to just now seems completely like they've given up. At least that was my take from it. Like, and I mean, I can't even say that I would be in any better state if I were still there or ever there, right? And just kind of living in a war zone and wondering if it'll ever stop, and just thinking stopping is better than continuing, no matter what the outcome is. And like, that's the thing, is in conflict, ethics and morals go out the window, and people just want to stop being scared for their lives. And that's problematic, because building from that is bad and it's hard, and it has a whole host of problems that come along with it, right? Whereas if, you know, people have some semblance of safety and all this other stuff, they can at least think more rationally. And yeah, it's just difficult to watch, but we're going to try and finish this video out.
Now rumbles with Russia advancing. Ukraine said it would hold steady at 3 villages near here after it left Avdiivka. That hasn't happened. All 3 are now heavily contested at best, and the noise of the Russian approach is louder.
У нас була ж Донбас, Україна, все нормально, жили. Работа була. Сейчас уже, конечно, мне скоро 70. Уже 52 года вместе. Вот тут их поховають. Вон канал у нас яка, бачите.
Вы совсем ждали, что у русских будет так близко?
Не, мы не ждали такого. Мы думали, оно как-нибудь успокоится, что и затихнет.
Some units had enough shells, they said. These firing American rounds in a donated Paladin. But still less than before. We didn't see much in the way of heavy defences around here, and the worry was and will be that Russia does not stop. It may not be huge and sudden enough to make the West pay urgent attention. But that's exactly what Putin wants anyway.
Now, President Volodymyr Zelensky saying that in February, Ukraine has managed to down 15 Russian jets, and also his defense intelligence officials suggesting they've managed to take out a bridge 500 miles inside Russia. That's the changing nature of this war, though, because Ukraine is showing capabilities it didn't have at the start of the war, frankly, but still facing relentless Russian assaults along a key line of villages, and without holding them back, there is the risk that it begins to look like a sense of inability for them to hold the defensive line they so clearly stated they wanted when they pulled out.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. It's massively problematic. And, you know, while I hate adding military spending and things of that nature, I do feel it is in the interest of America to be supportive of Ukraine. I think they deserve support. Now, I'm struggling with how we end that situation, right? And I feel like every time I do think about it, it hurts my head because, you know, Putin, everything that he's been saying seems to be completely megalomaniacal, excuse me, and he's obsessed with war and with taking this territory back. And so how do you stop that, right? Like, you know, if Ukraine can't do it, right? And I'm not saying that anybody should go to war. I'm just thinking out loud here about how do you stop somebody doing an offensive military extended, it's a war, right? Like, I mean, how else do you describe it? And fact is, you know, it's right there on the border of the entire EU, and it's a serious situation that needs to be dealt with. And if we don't figure out how to deal with that, and with the Israel-Palestine situation, I struggle to call it a situation, but if we don't figure a way to stop these conflicts that we're heavily involved in already, like, I don't think the future holds a lot of great news for us, which is very depressing to say. no good options. Yeah, that's certainly part of it.
Putin has made his darkest and most specific threats yet about using nuclear weapons against the West.
This is from yesterday.
They must
I'm pretty
ultimately understand that we also have weapons, and they know about it. Just as I said, we also have weapons that can hit targets on their territory. All of this really threatens conflict with the use of nuclear weapons, and therefore the destruction of civilization. Don't they understand this?
Out front now, the retired Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, the former commanding general of the U.S. Army Europe. And General, it is wonderful to be with you in person. I know, obviously, usually you are joining us from Germany. So Putin has threatened to use nukes more openly than he ever has in his speech that he just gave, warning of the destruction of civilization. Those were his exact words. How serious is this to you?
Well, of course you have to take him serious because he doesn't care about how many innocent people have been killed.
Yeah, and that
but
threat.
I think this is a
That threat is exactly why I have concerns about even saying anything beyond mere opining on it in very vague ways, because it just feels like he's ready to do whatever. He feels like he's backed into a corner. The West has put sanctions on Russian billionaires himself and the Russian government. And it just feels like he's a scared bully who's lashing out and has nuclear weapons, and it's freaking scary.
continuation of his style of using threats, bluster, because he sees how we overreact every time. There's no upside for Russia if they use a nuclear weapon. Zero. Our president has told them that there will be catastrophic consequences for Russia if they use a nuclear weapon. So really, for the Kremlin, their nuclear weapons are most effective when they don't actually use them, because we deter ourselves, we overreact.
So the Financial Times, Max Seddon had this great report earlier this week. He had obtained intelligence documents showing the Russian threshold for using nuclear weapons, and it was much lower than anybody thought. In fact, making the Navy more effective was actually a justification for using a nuclear weapon of some sort. Stopping aggression was a definition, which of course could be defined any way one wants to define it. Are you surprised that the threshold, at least, in their written documents of what they say, is that low? Well,
That is lower than what I had always believed, but you have to be skeptical whenever you have a Russian document. What's the purpose of this document? How did we get this? And again, I think this is part of an effort by the Kremlin to make us be wary, and it works.
To halt Ukraine aid more.
Yeah, it works, because even the administration, which has done so much, and the German government, the top two contributors are not willing to say, we want Ukraine to win. Our objective is for Ukraine to defeat Russia, and I think this is tied to their concern.
So Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says there's nearly $300 billion, $285 billion in frozen Russian assets. She's saying that should be sent to Ukraine. And obviously you've got the congressional money on hold. Obviously $285 billion in frozen Russian assets is a massive amount of money. But how much of a difference would something like that make, even if you had a small portion of it?
Well, do quick math here. That's about 4 or 5 times the size of the aid package right now that we're all waiting to get through. So that would be an enormous boost for Ukraine, both for purchasing what they need to win this war, but also even for reconstruction. But it also would be useful because it would send such a strong signal to the Russians that there are consequences for what they do. And right now, a lot of the people around Putin have not really felt the consequences.
I don't know about this guy's assessment here. I don't know about that one. Might be right, might not be. He is a former general, so I feel like a lot of former generals are pretty hawkish. I don't know. It's a complicated situation. And I mean, chat, if you feel any way about it, let me know. But I don't know. I think that sending actual boots on the ground and sending like planes and things like that, which I think is what he's suggesting, is pretty drastic. It accelerates things quickly, in my opinion. But I do also feel like there needs to be a line drawn somewhere at some point. So sanctions haven't worked. What else is left? It's a difficult question. All right. Well, it's been another long night, but we managed to get through together. Still a lot of unanswered questions, but maybe tomorrow we'll figure it out. Till I see you next, you stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation.
There's no point in you betraying your future self to gratify your present self. It's a stupid game. This is from 12 Rules for Life.